Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Konoha, Tsunade, I am the Hokage. Chapter 71. Same Spiritualism, Difference. Chapter 71. Same spiritualism, but a different sense on the outskirts of Konoha, Minato Namikaze's home. Kushina came back from buying groceries in the morning and was worrying about what to cook today, or what excuse to find to go to Uchiha for a meal result. Before she opened the door, she sensed something was slightly wrong. When she reached the door, Kushina's eyes widened and then she took out her key. Click. When I opened the door, a burst of fragrance filled my nose. Kushina's eyes were moist, and she immediately ran into the house with the dishes, threw the dishes directly to the place and rushed towards Minato. You are finally back. We have guests. Ha, ha, ha. Minato called Kushina down and then apologized to Uzumaki Yuki. The little girl was calm. She looked at Kushina quietly. There was no excitement in her eyes, only calmness, and even when their eyes met, Kushina could feel a strong malice. The long-awaited reunion that Kushina had expected did not end in joy, but instead in unfamiliarity and hatred. Why, she was dumbfounded on the spot and didn't know what to do for a moment. Kushina? Minato tilted his head in confusion and looked at his wife. Why does Kushina have this expression? I am Ju. Kushina quickly introduced herself. Uzumaki Kushina, I know, my grandmother told me about you. Uzumaki Yuki answered. Kushina smiled stiffly, then looked at Minato. Sorry, I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't buy too many vegetables. I'll go to the street to buy some more. I'll go. I guess you haven't had breakfast yet. There's breakfast ready in the pot. Minato smiled. Then he turned and walked down the street. Kushina looked at the girl from the same clan with a dim gaze. Do you hate me? Hatred? Uzumaki Yuki thought about it, shook her head, and said calmly, I just don't like you. She paused for a moment and said, the village was destroyed and the survivors wandered around. Only you lived happily in Konoha and had a husband who loved you very much. Should I like you? She said it directly. It was so direct that Kushina was speechless and couldn't answer the girl's question for a long time. Konoha Hospital. Jingyan came here as soon as he left the Hokage building. Yesterday, Hong went to him for advice. Logically speaking, Hong must have tried it, so why is there no feedback yet? In addition, if I become a Jonin, perhaps the team will be reorganized. With all kinds of doubts, he came to the hospital. When he got outside Tsunade's lap, he heard a voice coming from inside the room. Not bad, the control is very delicate. This is your advantage, but your physique is relatively poor, so the chakra will be less. You must pay attention to saving every bit of chakra. Tsunade's voice. Yes, teacher, I will work harder. This is the voice of Kuranai. Jingyan stopped. Tsunade accepted Kuranai Yuhai as her disciple. No wonder he understood it all at once. He skipped the Chunin and was promoted to Jonin. Kakashi in the team was also a Chunin, and he was put into their team because he had conflicts with others and could not cooperate with them. Now, Yuhai Kuranai is going to learn medical treatment from Tsunade. She started late and needed to spend more time studying medicine, so she definitely couldn't follow them on the mission. People like Haruno Sakura and Ino in later generations also experienced similar periods. Pretty good exclamation. According to this, Tsunade should have been cured as well. He turned and left. However, when he reached the door, a soft voice caught his attention amid the noisy voices in the lobby on the first floor. Can Lady Tsunade cure it? Although Lady Tsunade has returned to the village, she has not had surgery in a long time. I heard that something went wrong. Ah, this can't be. The whispers in the corner usually don't attract attention, but this is a hospital. Jingyan glanced over and saw two people communicating in the corner, just strangers. He didn't stop and walked out of the hospital. Once outside, Jingyan took a walk around the village. Apart from the hospital, there was not much discussion about other places. After turning around, he transformed and returned to the hospital again, but the two men had disappeared. At night, a figure quietly came to Tsunade's residence. Inside the house, Tsunade opened her eyes instantly. She walked over to the bed. Just as I was waiting cautiously, there was a gentle knock on the window and door from outside, and a low sound came from outside. Sister. Tsunade opened the window. Whoosh! Exclamation! Jingyan jumped in and huddled in the corner. Don't turn on the light. What happened? Tsunade frowned and looked outside through the gap in the curtains. No one! Exclamation! I'm not sure if anyone is observing, so we can just talk casually. Jingyan whispered. Tsunade immediately became serious. Although they had only known each other for a short time, she knew that Jingyan was rarely so cautious in the village. What happened? During the day, I heard Jingyan told what he saw and heard. Tsunade's brows relaxed and she smiled. What's the big deal? I really haven't had surgery for a long time. It's normal for them to have such thoughts. Let me ask, is your hemophobia cured? Thanks to your guidance, Hong and her father successfully researched and cured me. Tsunade spoke gently. Then, she sighed softly. That technique is too beautiful. It's easy to make people addicted. I don't know how to use it yet. I'm still thinking about it. It turned out to be like this. No wonder there is no feedback. I don't know how to use it. Jingyan understood immediately. The virtual world is fake, but it is indeed addictive. But the point is Tsunade is ready. Jingyan laughed softly and said, Sister, I have an idea. Since you are already well, why not pretend that you are still suffering from hemophobia and wait and see what happens next, to see if I am overly suspicious or if someone is really playing tricks on me. If it doesn't involve major surgery, then it's fine. Tsunade pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. She squinted her eyes and looked outside. If there is someone behind this, it can only be Danzo. However, Danzo may not only represent his own ideas. He may also be instructed or used. You mean? Don't underestimate my teacher. He fought his way through the most chaotic times. Tsunade said seriously. It seems that there is something between Tsunade and the third Hokage that I don't know. Jingyan understood. Anyway, pay more attention and see if anyone is talking about this. Okay, I'll keep an eye on it. Then, the two exchanged some recent information. After hearing some quiet and subtle noises from below, Jingyan said goodbye and cancelled the shadow clone. 1 month later. While exercising, Jingyan also paid attention to the discussions around Konoha. Public opinion in the village is indeed changing. Before, when Tsunade came back, many people respected her. But now some people are saying that Tsunade is ill and is no longer the same as before. Everything was just as he wanted. On this day, the vests and approvals for the Jonin had come down. Kyouhiko goes to the Hokage building to be conferred. The process was not complicated, but the moment I took over the vest, the system prompt sounded at the right time. You personally trained a genius Jonin. Reward. Water array wall level upgrade. Tisk! Exclamation! Thank myself for trying so hard. Jingyan sighed inwardly, then quickly checked his memory. Master level water array wall. At the master level, he was able to control it more freely. In fact, he had already done many things before. After completing the master level upgrade, he was able to do it all in one step. The key point was simplify the seal! Exclamation! The technique that originally required 6 seals can be simplified to 2 seals after reaching the master level. Saving 4 seals was very important in the battle, needless to say, and the analysis of the water array wall seal made Jingyan amazed. Senju Tabarama is indeed a genius! Exclamation! This is just the water wall. There are so many seals in Water Dragon Bomb. One can imagine how much effort it takes to omit, simplify, and create new seals. However, he himself has not gained nothing during this period. Shui Luambo was able to reach the master level through his own efforts. The reason was very simple. He incorporated the property change technique of compression. Today's water waves can be condensed into bundles to increase the killing effect. Regrettably, Jingyan's mastery of nature changes has not reached the level of Senju Tabarama, and he cannot reach the level of Suidanbo for the time being, but it is enough to make up for his lack of range damage. A glance across the panel. He was quite satisfied, but still felt something was missing. Jingyan took the vest. When they got outside, Kakashi leaned against the door, his eyes revealing envy. He already knew about Jingyan's promotion. In fact, this matter could not be concealed. A week ago, the story of the youngest Jonin had already spread throughout Konoha teacher. Jingyan looked up. Jiraiya coughed lightly, put away the telescope, and jumped down from the building. Then, he said seriously, Hong is practicing in the hospital, forget about celebrating. Today, I will mainly focus on your practice. I will give you some suggestions. Yes, come with me. Jiraiya took the lead. After a while, the three arrived at the edge of the Death Forest. It's quiet and empty here. Generally speaking, experimental ninjutsu would be conducted here. Jiraiya looked at the two of them. Kurena has been temporarily called up by Tsunade, so your team will face a reorganization. The team has been roughly decided. You, Might Guy, and Minato will form a team of 4 to take on missions above A rank. Being above level A means that powerful ninjas will definitely be involved in future missions, and the mission objectives will be more important than before. The remuneration has also increased exponentially, however. It is also more difficult. Regarding ninjutsu training, do you have any ideas of your own? Jiraiya asked. Kakashi thought for a moment and said, as for me, I might study the changes in the properties of various attributes and try to integrate them into my swordsmanship. Various properties change. Jiraiya thought of Kakashi's sword that cut through the kunai. That should be a sword technique that is derived from the changes in the nature of lightning escape. It's also a good idea. He thought for a moment. I'll go back and sort it out and give you some information later. Thank you, teacher. Kakashi thanked him in surprise. Ninjutsu knowledge was precious, and he didn't have much of it at home. Jiraiya waved his hand. You already called me teacher. What is there to thank me for? He looked at Jingyan. What about you? My next step is to learn the lightning release ninjutsu. Jingyan answered. Kakashi asked in surprise, why? He has already learned lightning release, and as far as the team is concerned, they can cooperate and help each other, and Jingyan can fully develop another kind of ninjutsu. For example, fire escape and wind escape. The strength of the Iwagakure village has recovered very quickly. According to current intelligence, they have appeared in the land of hot springs and the land of grass. If a war comes, we will definitely clash with them. Jingyan expressed his concerns. Kakashi was silent for a moment. Lightning release restrains earth release. If we go to war with the Hidden Rock Village, it would be more useful to have one more person who masters lightning release. This he felt extremely ashamed. He doesn't have a strong goal in improving his own abilities, but Jingyan arranges his study time based on future needs and expectations, which shows the difference between the two. But as for lightning release, we can communicate and learn from each other. Okay, as for water jutsu, I should also try to learn 1 or 2 more range ninjutsu. Jingyan tells his plan. Jiraiya was both relieved and ashamed. Fortunately, Jingyan is as smart as ever and understands what he needs without any guidance from others. Sadly, he is pretty useless as a teacher. After thinking for a while, Jiraiya took out the scroll. You can only practice ninjutsu on your own, but there is one thing I can help you with. He opened the scroll. Several names appeared above, including Jiraiya and Minato Namikaze. This is the scroll of spiritual contract. Kakashi recognized it. He was very surprised and then said, Teacher, I already have a spiritual contract. They, the Haddock clan, possess the scroll of the contract with the ninja dog. There's no rule that you can only contract one kind. but the toads of Maruboshi Mountain can provide you with considerable help at critical moments. Jiraiya said. Thank you, teacher. Jingyan wrote his name on the scroll without hesitation. Maruboshi Mountain is one of the 3 holy places and one of the few places in the ninja world where one can learn immortal arts. If you don't want an opportunity when it comes, you're a fool. Seeing this, Kakashi hesitated for a moment and then wrote down his own name as well. Afterwards, Jiraiya taught the secret of summoning. Kakashi took a deep breath, then wiped the blood, made a seal, and pressed himself to the ground. The next moment, the ritual began. What? A small toad appeared, looking around in confusion, with a few bugs in its mouth. It swallowed it with a slurp. Jiraiya, what's going on? The voice is more female. It's okay. Sorry, Ama-chan. My disciple has communicated with you. Since you are eating, I won't disturb you. Jiraiya pointed at Kakashi. Kakashi greeted him, but Jiraiya and Kyouhiko, who knew him well, knew that he was still somewhat disappointed. This is too small! After dismissing them, Jiraiya explained, the size of a toad does not represent its strength. Like the toad Haru just now, it is good at ninjutsu and illusion. It is one of the few toads in Maruboshi Mountain that has mastered some illusions. Ninjutsu, Genjutsu. Kakashi was stunned and speechless. Could it be that the areas I am good at are really ninjutsu and illusion? Jiraiya looked towards Kyouhiko. You try? Ah. Jingyan did the same. Then, he felt the technique absorbing chakra continuously. Something is wrong! Jingyan frantically refined and synthesized chakra until his face turned pale, and finally boom! There was a loud noise. The ground was directly cracked, and a relatively large toad appeared in front of the 3 people. It moved its feet, and immediately the ground cracked. Jiraiya immediately greeted him. Dalai, I didn't expect you to come. Today my disciple is experimenting with summoning techniques. The powerful toad looked at Jingyan. You are the psychic me, right? Hello, I am Ryamine Kyouhiko, Jiraiya Sensei's apprentice. Jingyan greeted immediately. Mighty toad. This one is so strong, no wonder it consumed so much of his chakra! If you have any questions, you can channel me next time. The powerful toad responded. Then, it unchanneled itself. Kakashi standing aside had a blank expression on his face, doubting his life in his heart. It is said that the abilities of the toads are different, but the destructive power of the 2 when they appear is obviously not on the same level, right? He was speechless for a moment. Jiraiya was a little embarrassed and couldn't make up for it. He coughed lightly and said, Kakashi, maybe your chakra is less than Kyouhiko's, and you are more suitable for illusions. Yes, I will try my best. Kakashi was only depressed for a moment, so he didn't really take it to heart. There was no one else around. Jingyan looked around and said, Teacher, the team has been reorganized. I don't know when I will leave the village to carry out the mission, but the current situation is not optimistic. You must help me. He had a premonition. The 3rd Hokage or Danzo might transfer him away from Konoha in the near future. You mean, the recent rumors? Jiraiya saw this and also became serious. Jingyan nodded. He synchronized with him the information he had picked up during his recent exercise. Not valid information, but small things add up to a big one, and it will definitely be a huge blow to Tsunade's reputation. Jiraiya snorted coldly and said, Don't worry, I already have an idea. Just like you said, public opinion is a weapon. Danzo has always used it very well, but we may not be incapable of it either. It's hard to find the good things that Danzo has done, but aren't there a lot of negative materials about him? Just drop any of them and it would be enough to make Danzo suffer a lot. Jingyan hesitated for a moment and whispered, Sister Tsunade once told me not to ignore the Hokage fire. Jiraiya wanted to refute, but ended up being speechless. Danzo's troubles may not be caused by the 3rd generation. If we just target Danzo, we may end up playing into his hands. He frowned. What to do? The first priority is to strengthen yourself. If you are strong enough, you can break the doubts. Sister Tsunade and you both need a chance to prove yourselves. In terms of public opinion, you can make a point of targeting Danzo by talking about the recent attacks. Danzo is Saruto by Hiruzen's black glove. Without cutting him off, there would be no way to pose a direct threat to Saruto by Hiruzen. At least, the remaining power of the Anbu must be forced out! Jiraiya had his own thoughts. I know what to do, don't worry. I feel at ease with you here. Jingyan said. Tsunade is in power, which means to him, she must be much stronger than the third Hokage! Tsunade trusted him. This is one of them. Secondly, Tsunade is more flexible and adaptable, unlike Saruto by Hiruzen, who often sticks to the old rules and takes things into consideration, and ends up getting nothing good. Jiraiya was also thinking about what he should do when he turns around, but as he pondered, he felt something was odd. Rest assured. It's not right! I am the teacher. Jiraiya had a strange expression on his face, but thinking about the past he was speechless for a moment. Forget it. It's not the first time! By the way, to congratulate you on your promotion to Jonin, I'll give you a gift. Jiraiya said as he pulled out a knife-like object from his waist. Jingyan took it and lifted the cloth. This sword is shorter than Kakashi's white fang, somewhere between a dagger and a short sword, and more like a work of insufficient material, but he tried it a little and understood the difference. This is a chakra weapon. Teacher, this is too precious. It's not top quality, but I only found this one, so you can make do with it. Jiraiya felt embarrassed. This knife is indeed too short, more like a dagger, and only slightly longer than a kunai. Jingyan shook his head and then bowed respectfully. That's enough. Thank you, teacher. End of this chapter. Chapter 72 Tsunade will protect everything of Konoha. Chapter 72 Tsunade will protect everything in Konoha! Konoha. The beautiful scenery is very eye-catching. 100 laps. 100 more laps. Youth won't give in. Come on. Might Guy rushed forward frantically. Behind him, Jingyan Shiranui and others held their breath and forced themselves to follow. They don't ask for speed, they just ask for completion. This is still now. More than a month ago, they were lucky enough to run 300 laps, but now they can run 400 laps, which is a rapid improvement. Are you all here? Is it too late to join now? Kyouhiko. Everyone turned their heads. Jingyan and Kakashi were standing on a tree, and the next moment they both swooped down and came between the three people. Everybody gathered together. This was not their first meeting. In the past month, they had gathered once and exchanged some insights on physical skills. It did not involve advanced techniques, but both sides had made contributions and the rules were established thoroughly. Kyouhiko, Kakashi, how come you have time to train today? Didn't I hear that you were going to participate in the ceremony to be promoted to Jonin? Shiranui Gemma then sighed with envy. I'm 2 years older than you, and I'm still a genin. I haven't even taken the Chunin exam yet. There will be opportunities, but this year is special, so I couldn't participate. You are quite strong, so you will definitely be able to participate next year. Jingyan said seriously. This is not a consolation. After a period of hard training, the abilities of Gemma Shiranui and Ebisu have indeed improved a lot. Although they certainly cannot be compared with Guy and Kakashi who have been training since childhood, they are much stronger than before. He is definitely an elite among his classmates. However, you have to compare the goods before you buy. Even Kakashi's 6-year-old Chunin pales in comparison to Kyouhiko's Jonin. Are you hungry? I brought some food. Jingyan mentioned sushi. Might Guy immediately shouted, okay. We'll have enough energy to run after we finish eating. He hurriedly took the things and ran to the riverside. The 5 of them sat down and started chatting. Ebisu sighed, saying that now they were the only ones practicing together. A month ago, many people were running and training hard together, but not many could stick with it, only a handful of people, and the last one disappeared a while ago. Jingyan had some impression of him because that person was Uchiha Obito. He's not here either? Yeah, I rarely see him recently. He doesn't show up when doing good deeds on the streets. Shiranui Genma held a toothpick in his mouth. Tisk, could something have happened? It will be the final exam of the year soon, and he might want to take the exam too. Jingyan thought of Lin and immediately understood the reason. Before, when Obito had Rin as his friend in school, he had no sense of urgency at all, but now Rin has participated in the early training program for medical ninjas and is considered half-graduated from the ninja school. That guy wants to graduate too? Afterwards, he couldn't help but sigh. Time is long and short, and in the blink of an eye, another year has passed in 2 or 3 months. Fortunately, all the efforts were not in vain. Jingyan withdrew his thoughts to the present. He looked at Genma Shiranui and Ebisu. The two are good at different things. Genma Shiranui is good at controlling ninja tools. His ninjutsu is average, but his physical skills have improved a lot recently. Ebisu is good at ninjutsu and illusion, but in fact Ebisu, when we were chatting at the last party, I said your theory was very solid and logical. Jingyan said, "Thank you." Ebisu felt a little reserved when he heard this. At the party half a month ago, he didn't know that Jingyan was about to be promoted to Jonin. Now that he knew the news, he unconsciously felt the gap caused by their status. Kai was still nonchalant. He has advantages, but he talks a lot but can't actually do it. What's the point of having talent? He still needs to practice. Straightforward, but everyone nodded, including Ebisu himself. However, Jingyan smiled and said, "What I mean is that you can try to start from the theory, disassemble the ninjutsu, and improve and master the ninjutsu from the inside out. Everyone's situation is different, so the learning method cannot be generalized. Theory and analysis, these are what you need to be a teacher." Ebisu was able to become a special jonin through education, so he was naturally talented, but it was a pity for him that he could understand many techniques but could not learn them or improve himself. Jingyan couldn't give any advice before, but this time the water formation wall has been upgraded, and it comes with a lot of knowledge about hand seals and ninjutsu decomposition, so I can share some useful knowledge. Not only Ebisu, the other 3 also listened attentively. However, Might Guy soon became dizzy and lost his direction. His head felt heavy and he could not continue to comprehend. After saying this, Ebisu seemed to be thinking about something. "I see what you mean then." He shared some of his recent thoughts and techniques on studying fire release. Following that, Genma Shiranui also talked about the technique he was inspired to study last time, and Kakashi and Guy also talked about some techniques and their insights on progress. Everyone has their own inspiration, but Ebisu understood that his own insights and experiences were not equivalent to the knowledge shared by Kyouhiko, Kakashi and the others, because the other party did not really need the techniques of fire release. He could only swear in his heart to study and practice harder, but Jingyan's main purpose for coming today was not to have a party. "But Guy, have you been on any missions recently?" "Yes, but they are mostly D-level tasks. C-level tasks are rarely encountered, and they are not very difficult," Kai replied. Kyouhiko said, "You might have to go on a mission with me and Kakashi in a while." Kakashi was silent. "What?" The 3 of them stood up at the same time, all with expressions of disbelief. They looked at each other. Then, Shiranui Genma spit out the senbon in his mouth and said with a smile, "It's expected, isn't it? Kai is already more hardworking and better than us. He's just not good at ninjutsu and genjutsu, but he won't have this shortcoming when he's with you guys." He looked at Kai. "Akai, you will improve faster by following them. Congratulations." Might Guy was at a loss. He got familiar with the 2 teammates and never thought about reteaming. Ebisu, however, said worriedly, "If you are all together, then the mission won't be easy, right? Are you, Kyouhiko, the captain?" No, I'm young. I'm barely old enough to be a Jonin. How can I possibly lead the team? The one leading the team is Minato Jonin. Jingyan dispelled their doubts. After hearing this, Abisu became even more worried. Minato-senpai, I heard you're very strong, but with a team like this, the missions you're carrying out must be quite difficult, right? Ah, Jingyan nodded. Might Guy looked at the two of them, knowing that they were worried about him, and he was very happy in his heart. But he smiled brightly, showing his white teeth and giving a thumbs up. We've had enough of D and C ranks. Only when they are difficult are they challenging, and that's when we need the blue beasts of Konoha to take action. His gesture quickly changed the atmosphere. The blue beast of Konoha Shiranui Genma, and Abisu couldn't help laughing. This is the nickname Kai gave himself, but they really couldn't be happy at the thought of separation. As a ninja, the Genin group is just the beginning. Kakashi couldn't help but said. But seeing their state, he couldn't finish the rest of his words. Jingyan pulled him. Kai, we're leaving first. Yeah, thank you, Kyouhiko and Kakashi. Although Might Guy is not very smart, he is not stupid either. He guessed that Kyouhiko and Kakashi came here specifically for this matter. The discussion at the gathering just now was actually in the hope that Abisu and Genma Shiranui could become stronger. I won't disturb you anymore, Kakashi saluted. Then, the two left, leaving only the three of Kai. At this point, the three of them no longer had the heart to run. Just the next day, Namikaze Minato, Kyouhiko, and others gathered in the Konoha Hokage building, and Might Guy was also notified. The new four-man team gathers for the first time. You four are all young elites. We bring you together in the hope that you can improve and grow with each other, and that Minato can also improve his ability to lead a team. Sarutobi Hiruzen stated his intention. Everyone please listen to the instructions carefully. So, in the conference room, the strange words of the Will of Fire echoed, but Might Guy's blood boiled when he heard them, and he roared from time to time and cooperated very well, giving Sarutobi Hiruzen a very high emotional value. And so, when everyone went to receive their missions, Sarutobi Hiruzen was very happy and pleased. Downstairs, Might Guy said excitedly, Kyouhiko, what the Hokage said is very good, it's exactly what you said. Ah, is this why you're so excited? Jingyan was surprised. Yes. Isn't what he said similar to what you said? We, the dust, help each other and make progress together. In the final analysis, isn't the Will of Fire about making progress together and contributing to protecting the country, the village, and everyone? Might Guy felt a sense of honor. Although he is not as ignorant as Naruto, he still feels that. It's really amazing that Jingyan can say almost everything. Kakashi's mouth twitched slightly. Is it possible that Jingyan's thoughts and ideas were derived from the Will of Fire? Although Kai is not weak, being in the same team with him is really a big test for one's heart, but the order has been given, so what can we do? Kakashi took a deep breath and looked at Minato. Namikaze, Captain, are we going to the lobby to accept the mission now, or do we have other responsibilities? We already have a mission. Namikaze Minato's expression was serious. Let's go. We can talk while we walk. Yes. Everyone immediately became serious. Crossing the mission hall, it means that today's mission is issued by the village. Captain, what is our mission? Kyouhiko should have an impression. Do you still remember the Haish senpai you saved last time? Ah. Jingyan nodded. Namikaze Minato introduced. Our mission this time is to track down the enemy who injured them before. According to the intelligence, this person is likely to be the rebel ninja of Sand Village, Scorpion of the Red Sand. Then he synchronized the information with everyone. This part of the information came from the Sand Village. Not only their team, but also the Inoshikachu team participated in this mission, and because they were all very fast, they were also included. Jingyan felt that there was another reason. Another fight in the village may begin soon. The war of public opinion. There were many reasons for sending him away. Maybe he didn't want to get involved. or maybe Saruto by Hiruzen had other purposes. In short, it was just as Tsunade said. No matter how powerful Saruto by Hiruzen is, he is still the Hokage who came out of the chaotic era and should never be underestimated, of course. It is also possible that Saruto by Hiruzen and Danzo are both waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for a wounded person who needs Tsunade to treat. Beneath the quiet surface of Konoha, undercurrents had already begun to surge. When Jingyan and the others left the village and rushed to the border, the team that had just returned from outside also hurriedly brought the wounded to the Konoha hospital. They started shouting before they even reached the hospital. Help! Help! Soon, the medical team rushed in from the hospital. They quickly checked the injuries and then Shasai frowned. The injury was very serious. The bones near the right knee were almost shattered as if they were squeezed by the earth-style ninjutsu. The most troublesome thing was that it took them 2 or 3 days to return from the border. Some of the injuries have become adhered, and the broken bones and stone debris inside have been integrated into the flesh, blood, and joints, and many places are showing signs of infection. Such injuries are extremely difficult to treat! If not handled properly, the best outcome would be amputation, but in that case, it would be difficult to continue serving as a ninja. Carry the people inside, Shasai yelled, directing the medical squad. After the others entered, the Jonin who brought him here grabbed Snake Sai's hand, his face full of tension. Can Zhenlong be saved? This Shisai hesitated, finding it difficult to give a definite answer. At this time, the person next to him said, "Didn't Lady Tsunade return to the village? Can she not do it too?" Desho. However, the Jonin who had just grabbed Shasai turned around and scolded the other party. He hesitated for a long time and finally said silently, "Please try your best to save Zhenlong. His parents and wife died in the war and he has children to raise." "You absolutely cannot." As he said this, tears began to flow. His companion said sadly, "Kung Dao, weren't you and Lady Tsunade once a team? Why don't you ask her for help? I think she will definitely help heal him." Mumu Gondao was stunned when he heard this. He had indeed carried out a mission with Tsunade and Kato Dan, but that mission also led to Dan's death. He was reluctant to recall, but if Tsunade takes action, this kind of disease can definitely be cured. He hesitated for a while, but still gritted his teeth and looked at Shisai. "Tsunade, is she in the hospital?" Snake Sai hesitated and said, "Yes, but Lady Tsunade is currently researching important medicines and cannot treat him. We will do our best to save your companion's leg." "Where is she?" "I'll go and beg her for help." Mumu Gondao became anxious. At this time, someone beside him sighed. "Don't even think about it. I heard that Lady Tsunade had an accident a long time ago and is now completely unable to participate in the operation." "What?" Mumu Gondao was shocked. "I heard that since Lady Tsunade returned to the village, she hasn't performed a single surgery." The kind-hearted people in the hall sighed. "What a pity. I don't know what happened." Lady Tsunade unable to treat Koto Mumo thought about the time when he, Tsunade and Kato Dan were on a mission, and then Kato Dan died unexpectedly. And then, there is the rope tree. He vaguely understood. Tsunade may have really had a problem and was unable to participate in the operation, so she left Konoha for a while after Noaki's death. But why did she come back? He's not it. Just as people in the hall were discussing and Shisai was unable to stop them, a voice rang out. "What's wrong? Hey, Gong Dao, you're back. What happened?" Tsunade heard the noise, came out of her laboratory and went downstairs, and then saw the scene, of course. In fact, she knew about the movement below earlier, and the reason why she came out at this time was that she didn't want to delay the treatment for too long. "Tsunade, my companion is seriously injured, but in your case I heard that you can't undergo surgery now." Mumu Gondao's eyes showed a look of pity. As a witness to Duan's death, he knew very well how sad Tsunade was at that time, so after guessing some of the inside story, he felt a little reluctant and unable to ask for help. Tsunade's fingers trembled slightly. Immediately, Dashu stepped forward, knelt on the ground with a plop, and tears flowed down his face. Please save Shintaka. He was ambushed by the Iwagakure. He has a child, he can't be without legs. Tsunade-sama, Snake-sai looked at Tsunade. Tsunade showed a trace of fear on her face, which made everyone sigh in their hearts. Sure enough, the rumors are true. Konoha's most respected medical ninja is now in real trouble and cannot participate in the operation. Otherwise, with Tsunade's character, she would never be so hesitant. Everyone in the hall was silent. Even many passing villagers were surrounded outside. The next moment, Tsunade's lips trembled. To be honest, after the deaths of Duin and Shenshu, I did suffer from hemophobia. During this period, I have been forcing myself to adapt. I told myself that I must not fall down. There was silence. Dashu was desperate. Mumuganda was filled with despair and emotion, but soon, panic appeared on his face, and he wanted to stop Tsunade from continuing. Tsunade, no more. That's enough. Snake, stop it. No, Gondao, I failed to save Duin and Shenshu, so I can't let everyone sacrifice themselves. Tsunade glanced around and finally fixed her eyes on Snake-sai. You go first. Once I change my clothes, I'll come over to perform the surgery immediately. Tsunade-sama, are you sure? Shasai was equally shocked. She knew that Tsunade might be ill, but she didn't expect it to be the most deadly hemophobia for medical ninjas. It's okay, go ahead, trust me. Tsunade said softly. Yes, I'll get ready. Shasai bowed deeply, then turned and entered the operating room. Tsunade stepped forward and walked to the door, her tone firm and heroic. Protecting the village and protecting everyone is the lifelong goal of my grandfather, my second grandfather, Duin and Shenshu. So is I. I will protect everything in Konoha. After saying that, she strode forward and walked towards her office. After a while, Tsunade really changed her clothes, followed by Shizune, who looked anxious and frightened, proving that Tsunade was indeed in bad condition. But Tsunade resolutely entered the operating room. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Mumu Gondao couldn't help but shed tears. Dashu knelt on the ground and refused to get up. Outside, the villagers no longer had the idea of leaving after eating the melons. Everyone wants to see Tsunade cure that ninja. Time passed gradually, and by noon, more and more people came to Konoha Hospital. Many people came after hearing the news. More than this. By now, the news of hemophobia has spread throughout Konoha, and everyone knows about Tsunade's condition, but Tsunade's bold words before entering the operating room are still echoing in everyone's ears. The first and second generation Hokage, Kato-dan, Nawaki Tsunade has sacrificed too many loved ones. Everyone hopes for a miracle. In the operating room, Shasai observed Tsunade and witnessed with his own eyes Tsunade's trembling and fear when she first entered, which soon subsided with each deep breath. Tsunade's hands also went from trembling to calm, and finally to extremely firm. Let's start. The tone is calm and gentle, making people believe it unconsciously. She can do it. The time passed unconsciously inside the room. This operation was indeed difficult, and even Tsunade could not easily perform it, but her skills were undoubtedly top-notch. Removing, extracting poison, resetting, and treating the treatment was carried out in an orderly manner, and everyone in the medical team cooperated quietly. There were only Tsunade's orders in the operating room. She is the king here! Exclamation inside the hall. Everyone was waiting, and many of the people outside the door had been dispersed, leaving only a few. But on the street outside Konoha Hospital, there are still many people stopping to wait and watch, hoping to get a result as soon as possible. At last, Shasai came out of the operating room and walked to the hall tiredly, but her face showed suppressed excitement. Glancing around, she said softly, the operation was successful. But in the hospital, please don't make too much noise. Inside the hospital, everyone remained restrained. Soon. Oh! The shouts echoed throughout the streets outside Konoha Hospital. Most people were genuinely emotional and were happy that Tsunade was back on her feet. but there were some who didn't share that sentiment. Tsunade is back! But their intention was not to help Tsunade announce her return under such circumstances. The current result is contrary to their goal, but with public opinion overwhelming, how dare they speak out at this moment? I could only cheer along. Inside the hospital, after Mumuganda was excited and happy, he became concerned and nervous. Jessie, is Tsunade okay? The operation was very exhausting. Lady Tsunade insisted on completing the operation, and now she has fallen asleep from exhaustion. Snake said softly, Majin Jounen's surgery was a complete success and will not affect your future actions. No one but Lady Tsunade could have performed such a surgery so perfectly. Yes, thank you, and thank you, Lady Tsunade. The three Konoha elites were crying, laughing, and expressing their gratitude, which made Snake sigh, unable to cope. She said a few words of comfort, gave some instructions on what to pay attention to in the hospital, and then turned and left. Otherwise, God knows what else these people are going to do. Furthermore, the one who deserves the credit is Lady Tsunade, it's not her. However, thinking of the scene just now, she couldn't help but feel admiration, as expected of Lady Tsunade. End of this chapter. Chapter 73 Danzo, no one knows intelligence better than me. Chapter 73 Danzo, no one knows intelligence better than me! Shizun opened the door carefully, only to see Tsunade sitting by the window, looking out at the cheering crowd below. Her face was calm, but there was a hint of anger in her eyes. Lady Tsunade, are you really okay? Tsunade waved. Shizun walked over and Tsunade stroked her hair before chuckling softly. I'm really fine, don't worry. She looked down. Immediately, Tsunade said to herself, now is not the time to rest. What did you say? Nothing. I recovered after saving him this time. I'm afraid I won't be able to rest in the future. Tsunade smiled. Shizun muttered, you still owe Jiraiya-sama a large sum of money. You should have worked hard to pay it back. Shizun. Oh, there are still some debts outside that have not been cleared. Shizun. Tsunade's tone intensified, and then she suppressed her emotions and said with a dark face, today is a happy day, can we not talk about these unpleasant things? Seeing you like this, I know you are really all right. Okay, I will go back and continue practicing. Shizun was really worried before. She knew Tsunade's condition and vaguely felt that the visitor had ill intentions, but she did not expect that Tsunade would temporarily get better, which made her surprised, happy, and fortunate. Fortunately, it's temporarily fixed. Tsunade sighed as she left. I had to act out the whole thing, so I had to keep it a secret from Shizun. It turned out that her idea was correct. With Jingyan's performance, her previously weak persuasiveness increased greatly, making this move extremely meaningful, but she felt guilty for deceiving everyone, and at the same time, Tsunade became even angrier. Could the accident that happened to Mumo Kokoto and the others be related to Danzo? Can you attack the villagers just for the position of Hokage? Clenched her fists. Originally, Tsunade didn't quite agree with Jingyan's plan, but now she feels that there is nothing wrong with Jingyan's plan. When the enemy extends a knife towards you, you should not just block it, you should also strike back with your own knife to let the enemy know how powerful you are. Tsunade's eyes were cold. After a while, a toad jumped in through the window. Immediately, the toad opened its mouth. Jiraiya climbed out from inside. How about it? What Jingyan said was right. Not only did the bastard want to harm me, he might also want to harm Mumugondao's teammates. Bastard. He wants to harm Jingyan, and he wants to harm me too. Tsunade's eyes were cold. Regardless of whether it was Danzo who did it or not, she was determined to take the blame. According to plan? It is good. In the following days, Tsunade's matter continued to ferment. So, everyone knew. It turns out that there is such a story behind Tsunade's departure from the village. All my relatives have died right in front of me, but I am powerless to do anything and cannot save them. Who can withstand such a blow before? Many people felt a little resentful after Tsunade left. thinking that Tsunade should not have left the village without caring about anything and was too irresponsible. There were also many people who secretly talked about and blamed Tsunade some time ago. But after knowing the truth, they all regretted it very much and wanted to come to Konoha Hospital to visit and apologize, but they were rejected by Tsunade's people. She doesn't need this kind of visit. As for the latter, the mastermind behind all this is Danzo, and perhaps the third Hokage as well. Tsunade doesn't need to be angry with them. Her goal is simple. Becoming Hokage made Konoha stronger and stopped it from being caught in war. As these situations emerged, some complaints about border chaos and untimely intelligence spread among the ninjas. The Konoha team had been attacked by the Rock Ninja several times before, and the Mumugondao team was ambushed this time. All these situations lead to one issue. Why was Konoha's intelligence lacking so severely that ninjas from other villages were lurking right under the border's nose? Now is a peaceful time. If a war breaks out suddenly, what will happen to our intelligence capabilities? Well, who knows? What about the Ambu? The intelligence department is usually controlled by the Ambu, right? SHH. Are you going to die? There was a lot of talk in the village, and many people were afraid and wary, but the more this happened, the more they talked about it in private. In just a few days, many people in the village have begun to doubt the capabilities of the Anbu, and discussions about the capabilities of the Anbu have been ongoing. At the Anbu base, Danzo had a gloomy expression on his face. What? Master Danzo, something is not right. It feels like someone is pushing us from behind. Aburame Ryoma got down on one knee. Danzo suppressed his anger. What are you doing? You can't even control these things in the village. Is this how intelligence work is done? This Aburame Ryoma found it difficult to defend himself, so he lowered his head and remained silent. He never expected that someone would spread and fight back against the news, and it came very quickly. When they wanted to target them, public opinion had already become rampant. By this time it was too late to put out the fire. Danzo stood up, tapped the floor with his cane, then left the Anbu with heavy steps and walked towards the Hokage building. To the Hokage building. Boom 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 exclamation enter. From inside the house, the voice of Saruto by Hiruzen was heard. Squeak! The door opened and Danzo walked in. Saruto by Hiruzen, Midokado and Yutain Koharu were all there. The three looked at Danzo. They are all here, Hiruzen. Your students this time. Danzo was about to speak. Midaman and Yutain Koharu sighed in unison. Danzo, you've gone too far this time. You shouldn't attack people from your own village. If Tsunade fails to overcome her psychological problems, wouldn't that mean she'll be useless as a jonin? Yutain Koharu also had an unwavering expression on her face. That surgery, she later found out that even she had no confidence in completing the operation. Even if she could do it, it would be impossible for her to be as perfect as Tsunade, who could not allow Shinyu to recover without affecting the battle. Maidaman Yan said, "It's not easy for a village to train a jonin. These are all the hard work of our village. And the previous Namikaze Minato, you shouldn't snatch that girl away no matter what." Were you involved in the matter of Team Hayashi? Tenakoharu asked again. Danzo's face turned gloomy. He came to discuss something, but he didn't expect to be scolded, and what the hell? He glanced around and said, "Some of them were not done by me." Finally, Danzo looked at Saruto by Hiruzen. "Hiruzen, do you believe me?" Danzo. Saruto by Hiruzen finally spoke. He exhaled smoke and his tone was melancholy. "Whether it's you or not, the problem of intelligence deficiency does exist, and the intelligence department has not done a very good job in recent years." He looked at Midokado and Yutain Koharu. "Let's change someone else, what do you think?" "Agree." The two did not hesitate. Danzo tapped the floor with his cane, his tone icy. "You mean to make me admit defeat this time? The public opinion in the village is not good for you. Removing the old intelligence team leader is also to protect him, and to give him some training so that he can take over again in the future, Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Danzo gritted his teeth, but took a deep breath and said, Hiruzen, no one knows more about intelligence and espionage than my people. If you let others do it, you will definitely regret it. Danzo, we all know your contribution. It's not that we don't want you to do it this time, but the current public opinion is too troublesome, so let your people go down first. Utain Koharu said softly. Also, since you are taking action regarding Tsunade's matter, you must be prepared to be retaliated against. Maidaman N was slightly dissatisfied. Danzo was silent, then let go of his cane and sat down on a seat nearby. Even Utain Koharu and Maidaman N didn't help him. There's nothing we can do about it. He sat down and said no more. After a long time, Danzo turned and left with a very ugly look on his face. Sarutobi Hiruzen sent away Utain Koharu and Maidokado N, then picked up an intelligence scroll that was pressed underneath, opened it and read it, and couldn't help but sigh. The scroll reads, Danzo secretly formed the root team, and after terminating the research on Hashirama cells, he has been secretly supporting and guiding related research. The evidence is that in the current root team, there is a child named who is now 4 years old. He has mastered the ability of wood release. The attack on Minato Namikaze was carried out by the root team. The evidence is that they all have the seal of eradicating tongue evil on their tongues, which confirms the characteristics submitted by Jiraiya. Signed, Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, with a hint of loneliness in his eyes. Danzo, you disappoint me so much. The land adjacent to the land of fire and the land of rivers. This is an antidote pill researched by Lady Tsunade. It can remove a lot of toxins, and even if it can't remove them, it can at least alleviate some of them. Minato Namikaze distributed the antidote pills one by one. The enemy this time is very strong and terrifying. Everyone, be careful, especially you, Kai. You are very strong in physical skills, but you are mostly in close combat. You have performed few high-difficulty missions and are most likely to be poisoned. Yes. Might Guy stood up and responded. Then, Minato looked at Kyouhiko and Kakashi, a slight smile appearing on his face. Kakashi has experienced more missions, so I feel more at ease with him. Kyouhiko, the person Minato was most worried about, was actually Kyouhiko. Very strong. But there are many powerful people in the ninja world, and even geniuses need to grow up before they can dominate the world. After all, age is not a factor in the battlefield. Senior, I understand. Jingyan nodded. Among the 4, he is definitely the one who values his life the most. Before the system was launched, the main techniques were life-saving ninjutsu such as the instant body technique and the substitute technique. Now, they are also the strongest ones for saving lives. When Naruto rushed forward with blood boiling, he would never do it. After some explanation, the 4 of them crossed the border and headed towards the country of river ahead. The land of rivers is vast. A river runs through the north and south, from the rain country to the sea in the south, hence the name of the river country. There are mountains and forests on both sides of the river. The 4 of them walked quietly, following their previous route, and arrived at the site of the battle here. The traces have been cleaned up, and they were cleaned up recently. Traces of battle can be seen in the forest. Many trees are broken and fallen, which shows how fierce the previous battle was, but the signs of cleaning are very fresh. Everyone looked at each other with some surprise on their faces. What happened to being cleaned up? Kai had the least experience and the most superficial thinking in this area, so he didn't understand what they were surprised about. This shows that there is another group of people tracking them. Jingyan replied, Minato-senpai, you said before that the 3 seniors, Ino, Shika, and Chu, would also be there. Could this be their trace? Probably not. There is no secret code left. It is more like the style of Sand Village. Namikaze Water Gate. So, should we track it? Kakashi looked at Minato. The Sand Village intervenes. This is normal. After all, this matter concerns the rebel ninja of the Sand Village, Scorpion, so their actions are very normal and reasonable. Namikaze Minato thought for a moment and said, "For the past month, our team has been searching for the whereabouts of the two missing ninjas. Even if the Sand Village gets involved, at least we have to find the bodies of the ninjas in the village. Then we look for someone from the Sand Village. If that's the case, I might be able to find a way," Kakashi said. Namikaze Minato thought about it and nodded. "Let's try it first. Who knows if they will find it first?" "Bro." Kakashi bit his finger, then formed seals with his hands and smeared the blood on the ground. The procedure is unfolding. Bang! Exclamation! A mighty giant white ninja dog appeared before everyone. It glanced around and finally fixed its eyes on Kakashi. "Sakumo's son?" It was silent for a moment, then said, "It's been so long, have you decided to sign the contract?" "Yes." Kakashi bowed slightly. "I'm sorry that Andre-senpai has been worried during this period." "It's nothing. I'm glad you can come out." The giant white dog looked around. Finally, it focused on the traces around it. "Need my help?" "Yes, please help me track the scent of those who cleaned up the traces here before. The traces look very fresh, so they should not have disappeared for long. It is good." It sniffed, then quickly ran to a direction, "This way." Everyone followed immediately. The white figure was running wildly, looking heroic. There were scars on its body, making it look quite ferocious. Jingyan could imagine the scene of it accompanying White Fang in battle. The existing contract Kakashi mentioned earlier turned out to be the renewal of Hadake Sekumo's Andre inherit. Since he is willing to take this step, it means that he has completely resolved the knot left by his father's suicide and has come out of depression and dilemma in particular. After spending some time together, we have become friends. Seeing him walk in another direction, Jingyan was sincerely happy. He paused for a moment, then quickly caught up with the pace in front of him, and then he noticed Kai was quietly wiping away tears. "Why are you crying?" Kakashi turned around and glanced at Might Guy. Kai said, "Nothing, I'm just happy for you." "Thank you, let's go." Kakashi is not good with words, but he knew very well that during that period of time, Kai had been looking for a showdown with him, and had been pestering and accompanying him in another form. Namikaze Minato remained silent. "Follow along." Suddenly, Andre stopped. Immediately, whoosh! Kunai flew out from the darkness, and then two figures rushed out. Jingyan quickly came to the front and formed seals with his hands. Just two seals, a rotating vortex emerged, sweeping away all the kunai that were shot at it, including the 1,000 swords that were also swept away by the water current. So fast. Namikaze Minato turned his head, unable to hide his surprise. A water array wall that only used two seals sees this, the technique used by the second Hokage Minato-senpai clear. In the blink of an eye, the water curtain fell. Minato Namikaze's figure was as fast as lightning, as if he turned into a yellow light, and instantly appeared next to a person. Immediately, Rasengan! Boom! The figure collapsed and turned into wreckage. "This is a puppet." Minato Namikaze looked around. At this moment, Andre roared and jumped up suddenly. A field of spikes emerged from the ground. There was a deep blue glow on the spikes, and it was obvious that they were coated with a very terrible poison. "The other party wants to kill Andre. And also Kakashi, be careful." Jingyan gathered his chakra and suddenly punched the ground. The ground cracked. The poison needles were knocked crooked and flew all over the forest, but fortunately the three of them were masters of physical skills and had extremely fast reactions, quickly avoiding the attacks of the poison needles there. Andre roared, leaped quickly to another tree, and crouched on it in a retracted, cautious posture. Jingyan and the other two quickly jumped to another place, but At the moment of jumping, Jingyan split into three, each of them transformed into a different appearance. SHHHHHH exclamation. The poison needle shot out. In the woods, puppets were running, and no other sounds could be heard. Hearing is not everything. This way. The giant white dog Andre said this and was about to move forward, but Kakashi's pupils shrank instantly. Just as he was about to remind her, a figure flashed by below. The blades intertwined. The puppet collapsed to the ground. Beware of the ambush. At this moment, a wave of fluctuations sounded not far away. Immediately afterwards, two people jumped up from the chaos and Jingyan looked over. One was Minato Namikaze, who went around and attacked the operator directly. The other one was not Scorpion of the Red Sand, but an old lady. He looks quite old, but in good spirits. Cheo? Jingyan immediately understood why the other party was targeting Kakashi and Andre. From Chio's perspective, she really hated anything related to Haddock Sakumo. Damn white Fang. Chio gritted her teeth, threw out several objects, and then formed seals with her hands its wind style. Kakashi yelled, "Poison, disperse, gather." Since Minato Namikaze was not around, Kyouhiko could only give orders with brief words. Fortunately, everyone was in sync and ran and retreated in the same direction. The next moment, a strong wind swept in. Wind escape big breakthrough exclamation. The wind and the poison combined to sweep away a large area of forest and wither it. It was truly horrific. Chio really hated it, but the next second, Minato Namikaze also arrived beside Chio and stabbed her with the kunai in his hand. Suddenly exclamation. Namikaze Minato couldn't hold the kunai in his hand, and it flew out and flew to another place, and Chio couldn't stop herself either. The next moment, a sound came from their stop. A cold voice sounded. Namikaze Minato instantly appeared in front of the three people, with a vigilant look on his face, and whispered, "Magnetic escape, even the Kazekage is here. If the situation gets bad later, retreat immediately." Yes. The three of them did not dare to neglect opponent. It is very likely the third Kazekage. Jingyan knew that although the third Kazekage died in a very miserable way and his body could not even be buried, there was no doubt about this guy's strength and he should be at the level of a shadow. Among the four of them now, perhaps only Minato Namikaze can deal with the opponent, and the other three are simply no match for him. A young man walked out of the forest. The other party glanced at Chio, then sighed and said calmly, "Konoha's ninja, are you here for the Red Sand Scorpion as well?" End of this chapter. Chapter 74, The Third Kazekage, Scorpion, I Can Forgive You. Chapter 74, The Third Kazekage, Scorpion, I Can Forgive You. Yes. Namikaze Minato nodded. Just as he was about to negotiate, suddenly, several figures emerged from the surroundings. Immediately, wind blades came whistling. Facing this kind of wind blade, the water array wall is not very effective, but the four figures appeared in an instant and immediately retreated. Jingyan is the fastest. His figures crossed paths, and in the blink of an eye he was next to someone, with his blade quickly unsheathed when exclamation. The opponent blocked it with kunai, and then one kunai after another was controlled to kill him. However, the next second, Jingyan drew out the short sword from his waist with his left hand, infused it with chakra, and the blade slashed forward quickly like flowing water waves. At this moment, a puppet rose up in front of him. The blade cut through. Wow! Chakra exploded, and a rotating vortex shattered the puppet's core. Taking advantage of the opponent's surprise, Jingyan released the hilt of the sword in his right hand and formed a seal with one hand. In an instant, the clone took the knife and moved forward to slash. Sand Ninja, die! Exclamation. At the same time, Might Guy and Kakashi worked together to kill one person. Go! Minato threw out several detonating tags. Immediately, wind escape big breakthrough exclamation. A large amount of chakra was infused, the wind was howling, and the fierce hurricane blew the sand and rocks, the leaves flew, and blew the explosive tags towards the direction of the sand village ninja. Immediately, iron spikes extended from the ground and quickly turned into a large wall. Magnetic escape sand iron wall boom exclamation after a roar. The third Kazekage turned around with a bit of anger in his eyes. Who allowed you to act on your own? Lord Fenning, that guy is White Fang's son. Chiyo's face looked very unhappy, and she stared at Kakashi and Andre beside him with hawk-like eyes. So familiar. It was because Kakashi was younger. Otherwise she would have mistakenly thought that White Fang had been resurrected, but this did not affect her desire to kill the other party. What's more, the purpose of these people coming here was her grandson. How could she not fight to the death, Elder Chiyo? The third Kazekage frowned. He is the son of White Fang. With White Fang's weapons and that damn dog, Chiyo's eyes flashed with ferocity as he quickly chased after her. There were more and more Sand Village ninjas around, roughly a dozen of them, and it was hard to tell how many of them were Jonin and Chunin. They all chased forward. The third Kazekage weighed the matter for a moment and continued to pursue, but whispered, "You have to remember, we are here on behalf of the village, not just you." Chiyo was silent. The iron sand gathered behind the third Kazekage and turned into a pair of wings. The next moment, the third Kazekage quickly flew into the air and flew towards the direction of Minato Namikaze and the others. Soon, the third Kazekage caught up with Minato Namikaze, who was walking at the back. "Do you, the Sand Village, want to go to war?" Minato Namikaze's face was serious and he stepped back step by step. Regardless of whether the other party has malicious intentions or not, the current situation does not allow both sides to sit down and communicate peacefully. Minato thought that people from the Sand Village were coming too, but he didn't expect that there would be so many people coming. Kazekage, Chiyo, and a dozen other ninjas. If an attack of this scale were to occur suddenly on the border, the few teams at the Konoha border would not be able to handle it at all. Minato Namikaze knew that he couldn't escape like this. Chakra is accumulating in his body. I will channel the spirit of the deity, Bunta, and then you guys run. I can channel 1, 2. Jingyan whispered. Although the size of the powerful toad is not as big as Bunta, it is definitely not weak and can also help in the current battle. The two looked at each other. Then Psychic Art. Both of them bit their fingers at the same time. Soon boom exclamation, two toads, one big and one small, stood in front of the battlefield, with smoke and dust filling the air. When Tai and the powerful toad were standing between the two sides, Bunta took a puff of cigarette. Minato and the others were hanging on him at the moment, with only Kyouhiko standing on the back of the powerful toad. The powerful toad took a look and said, "What a big event. How about it? People from the Sand Village, do you want to fight?" Bunta drew the blade from his waist. "He is not afraid of fighting!" Exclamation. The third Kazekage narrowed his eyes slightly, and finally, he said calmly, "Back off. Master Kazekage, get out." The third Kazekage scolded harshly. The Sand Village ninja had no choice but to retreat. He flew in the air and looked at Minato Namikaze on Gamma Bunta's body. "Konoha's ninjas. We are here to hunt down the rebel ninjas and have no intention of conflicting with you. In addition, based on our explorations over the past few days, the Scorpion may have already left the area." With the third Kazekage ahead, the Sand Village ninjas dared not chase after him. Minato Namikaze looked around. "Two of our ninjas are missing after being attacked by him. We must recover the bodies no matter what. We cannot let the village's heroes get lost out there." He was neither humble nor arrogant, and was not afraid even if the other party was the third Kazekage. The Sandai Kazekage looked around, then turned back and fixed his eyes on Chiyo, who had rushed over and was sitting in a tree below. Then, an iron pillar rose up and lifted Chiyo up. Chiyo said, "We didn't see any bodies or any debris. When we got there, many traces had been cleared. We searched for a while before we found some clues." "What clue?" Namikaze Minato asked immediately. Chiyo's face was full of reluctance, but she still took out a piece of cloth and a puppet arm. "This is what we found at the scene." The third Kazekage took out one of the pieces of cloth. Then, he walked slowly towards Minato. and when he was only a dozen steps away, he condensed an iron spike in his hand and extended it all the way in front of Minato. We are not sure if it was left by Scorpion, but maybe we can provide you with some information. The third Kazekage said. Minato Namikaze did not dare to be careless. He wrapped the cloth and handed it to Kakashi. Andre sniffed it and confirmed that it was non-toxic only, then did he accept it. We in the Sand Village have no intention of quarreling with Konoha. Sasori defected last year, and we have been tracking his whereabouts. His poison and puppetry are very strong and may cause casualties to you. If you have any clues, please contact us. The third Kazekage was more rational and did not speak arrogantly more. He still hopes to find the scorpion of the red sand. We understand your request. If we have any news or find the body of your ninja, we will definitely transfer it through legal means. Thank you, Master Fang. Namikaze Minato responded politely and then watched the other party leave with his men. He let out a long sigh of relief. Then, they thanked Gamabunta and Gamahu, and Kakashi also thanked Andre. The three of them sent all the spirit beasts back. Minato breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, we have Wentai's help, otherwise we would be in danger this time. The atmosphere suddenly relaxed, but then, he added, Chiyo is very hostile to us, so we still can't go with them. I plan to meet up with Senior Shikaku first. What do you think? I also think we should go back first. Jingyan agreed with Minato's decision. With the third Kazekage here, they would feel like a thorn in their back if they moved forward, with the risk of being stabbed at any time, so it would be better for them to take a step back and play it safe after all. Once a person falls into the hands of the scorpions, they are basically dead and all they want is a corpse. If I sacrifice myself for this, it would be totally not worth it. Kazekage-sama, Chiyo, you are too impulsive, the third Kazekage said. Then, he sighed. He also knew about the feud between Chiyo and Hadake Sakumo. The fact that Scorpion has ended up in his current situation is indeed closely related to Hadake Sakumo, but there is no war between Konoha and the Sand Village at the moment. As the Kazekage, once he really takes action, it means the start of the war, but Chiyo has made great contributions to the Sand Village. Her whole family died for the village. How can he be blamed? The third Kazekage sighed, then frowned. Have you paid attention to their strength? The yellow-haired guy is very powerful. He should be the Konoha genius Minato Namikaze who has gained great fame in the past 1 or 2 years. As for the other three, Chiyo didn't pay much attention. At that time, her attention was all on Kakashi and Namikaze Minato, so she had no time to pay attention to Kyouhiko. Well, let's look at the body. The Sandame Kazekage walked towards the two bodies. The two men walked forward. Judging from the knife marks, the knife paths and styles are very different, but even those three children are still very strong. The third Kazekage closed his eyes and recalled the scene at that time. There's a guy with black hair who's good with swords. Have you noticed him? His speed and swordsmanship are even more terrifying than those of the Hadake family. He looks more like a disciple of Hadake Sakumo. But strangely, he can summon Juria's toad. The third Kazekage couldn't figure it out. Hadake Sakumo's swordsmanship style and Juria's summoning contract inheritance. When did Konoha's master-disciple relationship become so casual? No matter if he is the descendant of Hadake Sakumo or not, I will kill him and the kid from the Hadake family. Chiyo's eyes were tinged with bloodshot. That damn thing even accepted a disciple and passed on his sword skills. But what about me? The family was destroyed, and even the grandson defected from the village. After a year of tracking, he was still not found. She couldn't calm down anymore. Chiyo's teeth were almost broken. She just hated the other party for summoning Gamabunta, forcing them to be cautious. Otherwise he would definitely kill the 4 of them here. She was reminiscing, and then suddenly remembered something. By the way, that kid's water jutsu is very fast, a bit like the second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Water escape, swordsmanship, Toad the third Kazekage frowned. Why is this ingredient becoming more and more complicated suddenly? He remembered a piece of information. Isn't there a genius named Ryamine Kyouhiko in Konoha recently? He performed very well in the Chunin exam in Yukakure village before. It's him. Chiyo also remembered. She locked eyes with the third Kazekage. He is proficient in swordsmanship, ninjutsu, and taijutsu. An absolute genius! Exclamation. If this man can be killed, the risk of war is worth it after all. When the war started, there were many people targeting Konoha. The third Kazekage felt a little regretful pity. There's no use thinking about it now. He thought for a moment and said, Scorpion is the most outstanding genius in the Sand Village. Konoha's previous team suffered a great loss. It won't be so easy to kill him this time. Let them go find him. There will still be a chance then, and giving Scorpion the chance to kill his enemy's son with his own hands might allow the child to return to the village and become the future pillar of the Sand Village. The Sand Village is in great need of talents. The Sandai Kazekage sighed inwardly but did not tell Chiyo his thoughts. Yes. The border of the Fire Nation. Team Jingyan returned to the Land of Fire, where they waited and rested, and were not in a hurry to look for the whereabouts of Scorpion. Minato-senpai, should we send information back to the village first? Yes, I have already sent it. Namikaze Minato nodded. Jingyan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. Except for his slow rescue at critical moments, Minato was quite reliable at other times and he didn't need to worry at all. Everyone was silent for a moment. The mission did not get off to a good start, as everyone suddenly lost their direction. Jingyan thought about the map. They were in the middle of the river country, and looking at the direction of the Sand Village, it seemed that they were sweeping all the way north from where Hisashi and his men were fighting. So, where did Konoha's previous team search? We still have to wait for the pig, deer, and butterfly team. They came to support earlier and perhaps no more. After a while, Toad sent back a message. Konoha's attitude is to wait for Narashikaku at the border. In the evening, the sun sets and the moon rises. Tweet. At this moment, a bird's song was heard. Jingyan looked up and saw a black crow circling in the sky. They may be here. Okay. The rest woke up immediately. Namikaze Minato looked at Kyouhiko in surprise. How do you know? The bird was watching us, and I heard 3 footsteps. In the mountains and forests at night, everything is silent, but sounds can be heard very far away. Even following the mountain, Jingyan could still hear the clear swish and swish sounds. After a while, Ino, Shikaku, and Chu arrived. Narashikaku and Akimichi Choza had met before, but Kyouhiko had never met Yamanaka Inouchi. At this moment, Yamanaka Inouchi made seals with his hands to dispel it. The crows in the sky flew away quickly. Shikaku. Minato, are you here? I saw the marks you left along the way. What happened? We met the third Kazekage of the Sand Village. Minato recounted the situation. Jingyan stood by and added some details. After they finished sharing the intelligence, Narashikaku also told them the information they had gathered. During this period, they searched southward along the previous location, but did not gain much along the way. The ninjas there had basically retreated, but they saw the signal they left behind on the road. Sit down on both sides. By the campfire, everyone discussed countermeasures. So that means north. Akido Chuzu stuffed a Bingliang pill into his mouth. Narashikaku pondered for a moment, looked at Minato and Kyouhiko, and said with a smile, I think you are considering whether to continue the mission? Yes. Namikaze Minato took out Jiraiya's handwritten letter. This is Konoha's reply. Narashikaku took a look and felt extremely heavy-hearted. This is equivalent to giving him the decision-making power. What do you think? The attitude of the Sand Village is unclear. We can't be sure whether the other party is really here for the Red Sand Scorpion. I don't think we can leave. Namikaze Water Gate. Narashikaku nodded. He also agreed. But what should he do if he stay at this is a problem. After thinking for a while, Lu Jiu had some ideas and was about to talk them out, but he noticed Jingyan out of the corner of his eye, and his heart suddenly moved, and he said, "Jingyan, do you have any ideas?" "Minato-senpai is right. We can't leave. If we leave, who knows what the Sand Village will do next?" Jingyan said, expressing his thoughts. "I think we should send an elite team with fast speed and exploration ability to follow them. If they return to the Wind Country, we will send them back with courtesy. If they find the Sand Village, we will wait until we solve the problem before asking for an explanation. The purpose of looking for the Red Sand Scorpion is not only to find the corpses of their own people, but also for the scorpion itself. The poisons and puppets researched by Scorpion pose a considerable threat to Konoha, and Konoha is not quite sure about his purpose in attacking Hayashi at the moment. Catch the scorpion and you will have the answer. Follow them." After hearing this, Narashikaku's eyes gradually brightened. What he was thinking about was waiting for an opportunity at the border, sending out a reconnaissance team from time to time to investigate the movements of the Sand Village ninjas. Obviously, Jingyan's method is more effective. If you protect them, the other party will not be able to find any fault with them, but the prerequisite is that the elite team that Jingyan mentioned can really conduct investigation and escape quickly. Our two teams will act together. Watergate Road. Narashikaku waved his hands. "No. Me, Chosa, and who will stay here?" "I." Might Guy raised his hand. He forced a smile and said, "Kyouhiko has good hearing, and Kakashi can summon a ninja dog to help track him. I can't be of much help." There was a moment of silence, and then "It is good." Before Minato could say anything, Kyouhiko spoke first and responded, "If anything happens to us, we hope you can quickly provide cover and support must." Shikaku smiled and nodded. Kai was stunned for a moment and then nodded heavily. The four men tracked them at night. The next day, the Sand Village ninjas quickly discovered that there were two more people following their tail. The other party didn't hide anything at all. Too deceiving. Chiyo was so angry that she was shaking. She was too impulsive yesterday, but today she has calmed down a lot and understands that she cannot kill Minato Namikaze and the other three directly, but after this group of people left, two of them came back and followed her openly, which made her a little unbearable. The third Kazekage controls the Eye of Sand after a while. There are more than two. There are at least two more behind us, and even one or two small teams. What is Konoha going to do? Chiyo frowned. She is good at poisons and medical treatment, but is far inferior to her younger brother Abizo in this aspect. The third Kazekage thought about it and frowned. The opponent is tough! This distance is safe for both parties. The fact that neither side is hiding means that there is no intention of raid or assassination, and whoever takes action first is trying to start a war. Although Konoha had experienced a great war and had not yet recovered, the same was true for the Sand Village. Moreover, the Wind Country was not as wealthy as the Fire Country, and the village had fewer commissions and funds than Konoha. Its strength was definitely not as good as Konoha's now. Unless he wants to go to war with Konoha right now. Otherwise, the third Kazekage has already shown signs of retiring. They are waiting for us to find the Red Sand Scorpion, and then come up to ask for benefits, or, at that time, kill the scorpion. That's a nice thought. Chiyo snorted. Elder, what I mean is that we should go back to the Sand Village and stop looking for Scorpion for now. Let them do the searching. The third Kazekage said, I believe in Scorpion's ability. Konoha should be unable to do anything to him. This Chiyo hesitated. She finally got a clue about Scorpion and she was unwilling to give up. After a long moment, she gritted her teeth and said, Please, Lord Fangying, give me a team. I want to follow them. If I can find Scorpion, I will bring him back to the village. Chiyo paused, then said firmly, When the time comes, it's up to you to handle it. Scorpion is a genius. He didn't cause much damage when he defected. I can promise you that as long as Scorpion returns to the village, the past will be forgiven. Thank you, Master Fang. End of this chapter. Chapter 75, White Fang, the Unit of Measurement of Sand Village. Chapter 75, The Unit of Measurement of Sand Village. White Fang exclamation. Outside the border of the Wind Country, the third Kazekage looked back. He closed one eye, extended his chakra, and controlled an iron sand eyeball in the air. The ninjas of Konoha escorted them all the way from the Kingdom of Rivers back to the Kingdom of Wind. I would be reluctant to leave just like that. The third Kazekage looked around and said, "You wait here." Kazekage-sama. Everyone was shocked. The Kazekage is going back to fight Konoha. But, in this case, why should they wait here? The third Kazekage did not explain. The iron sand on his back gathered and he flew instantly at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, the third Kazekage had arrived and closed the distance. Then he didn't act immediately. Konoha's ninja, we have returned to our own borders. Can this prove that we have no intention of invading your country? Thank you, Master Fang, for your understanding. Namikaze Minato was neither humble nor arrogant, but they really could not find any fault with the Kazegage's actions. Withdraw from the Kingdom of Rivers and exercise restraint on each other. This benefits both parties, but why are you coming back? No, what does he want to do? Yamanaka couldn't figure it out. He is a direct subordinate of Saruto by Hiruzen and has always worked for Saruto by Hiruzen, and this time is no exception. The main purpose of searching for Scorpion of the Red Sand is to find out whether there is any connection between the Sand Village and Scorpion, so as to determine whether Scorpion is a real traitor or is just acting in the name of betrayal like the rebel ninja raised by Danzo. At present, it seems that there is indeed no connection between the Sand Village and Sasori, otherwise the Sand Village would not have sent the shadow of the village in person, leading to such an embarrassing situation now. The third Kazegage's retreat was a rational and correct choice. When Shikaku agreed to Kyouhiko's plan, he made the judgment that the Kazekage would not stay in the river country, but now. It seems unexpected. Everyone retreated quickly. Jingyan looked up at the sky. The third Kazekage was moving at a leisurely pace. He didn't let his men chase him, and there were no ambushes around. It didn't look like he was going to take action. Does he want to test our strength? Jingyan seemed to be thinking about something. Upon hearing this, Yamanaka pondered, it's possible. Above, the third Kazekage has spoken. Everyone in Konoha is a young talent. I would like to spar with you. Discuss. Namikaze Minato stopped. Discussion? Yes, just a simple exchange. The third Kazekage smiled and said, discuss. Namikaze Minato looked around. This place is not a good place to retreat, so after all the negotiations, the Red Sand Scorpions cooperated with each other. Don't worry, I still have some prestige. Besides, the Sand Village now has no strength to start another war with your Konoha. Otherwise, I wouldn't have retreated here before bringing it up. The third Kazekage saw their concerns. Then he chuckled, and then spikes of iron sand appeared behind them and attacked them like raindrops. At the same time, the third Kazekage fell from the sky. His wings gradually fell apart. No room for rejection. Magnetic release, sand iron rain. The iron needles seemed to have life and attacked the four of them, while the third Kazekage himself moved freely among them. The strongest wind shadow of all time, Jingyan's figure shuttled between the iron needles, his eyes always focused on the trajectory of the third Kazekage. Everyone dodged quickly, but those iron needles have magnetism! Kyouhiko and Kakashi's swords couldn't stop moving towards that direction, but at the moment the third Kazekage landed, Namikaze Minato came up to his side. Immediately, Daimler Rasengan! The huge spherical Rasengan instantly covered the third Kazekage! Pieces of iron sand quickly formed a defense, but Zizizi! The collision sounds of iron sand and Rasengan were harsh and sharp. A Rasengan appeared in Minato Namikaze's right hand again, and the next moment his figure disappeared in an instant. So fast. The third Kazekage was shocked. He had never seen such a fast speed. Even iron sand couldn't keep up immediately. The iron sand in the hands of the third Kazekage condensed and turned into a small shield, however. At this moment he sensed a figure approaching rapidly. Magnetic escape sand iron boundary technique. Iron spikes grew out from him, and in the blink of an eye they crisscrossed each other, forming a small steel forest. They cannot grow densely enough in a short period of time. For ordinary ninjas, they naturally cannot react in time at such a high speed, however. The third Kazegage's opponents are no ordinary people. In the blink of an eye, Minato Namikaze had avoided most of the iron sand, and Kyouhiko had approached Minato. He avoided most of the iron sand spikes, but some were not avoidable and he was cut, but this part of the price. In exchange for one punch! The strange power and chakra flow blasted forward and hit the small iron sand shield in front of him. The spikes on the shield are sharp, but the essence of strange power is not physical skills, but chakra flow, which does not require any contact at all. In an instant, the terrifying impact force blew the iron sand away. A ninja like Minato Namikaze's life and death often happen in a flash. Unless the iron sand of the third Kazekage can completely cover it and form a protective armor that can resist the Rasengan, it will be meaningless. This attack was created by Jingyan. He had to seize it at all costs! Immediately, the figures of Minato Namikaze intertwined. Rasengan! The third Kazegage's body was covered with iron sand, but it could not stop the powerful breakthrough of the Rasengan. In the blink of an eye, he was knocked dozens of steps away, and the iron sand was shattered one by one. Namikaze Minato succeeded and did not stay for long. He grabbed the injured Kyouhiko and retreated quickly. He is faster. The third Kazekage was hit in the shoulder and flew sideways, lying on the ground for a long time and unable to get up. He kept coughing up blood. Kazekage-sama. Master Kazekage, Elder Chiyo. Master Kazekage is injured. What? Chiyo had just come over from the other side to provide support when she heard the loud shouting from this side, and immediately she lost all desire to pursue. She came over immediately. After the treatment, Chiyo frowned. Fortunately, the opponent only hit me near the shoulder. If it was a little further down, it would have hit my heart, and the consequences would have been disastrous. And fortunately, I had iron sand for protection, otherwise the attack was too sudden. No one expected that the third Kazekage was fighting with the opponent one moment, and was counterattacked by the opponent the next, and the most terrifying thing about this ninjutsu is not the surface injuries, but the shock caused by breaking through the iron sand protection, affecting the deeper blood vessels and internal organs. If it deviates a little further, to near the heart, this blow may even cause serious sequelae. The third Kazekage was strong-willed. Even though he was hit hard, he did not faint, but was very conscious. At this moment, he gradually got better under Chiyo's treatment. He sat up with gritted teeth and said, Namikaze Minato is very fast, no less than White Fang back then. Ryamine Kyouhiko is also very powerful. That kind of power, if I'm guessing correctly, it should be Tsunade's jutsu. The third Kazekage frowned. The second Hokage, White Fang, Jiraiya, Tsunade. There are too many shadows of Jingyan, and each of them worked extremely well on him. The force, angle, and timing of that punch he just threw were very precise, making it impossible for him to dodge Minato Namikaze's Rasengan. Fortunately, he was not without the power to fight back just now. If Minato Namikaze wanted to kill him, he still had the power to protect himself. However, such a speed is a major hidden danger for the Sand Village. Then he looked at Chiyo. Elder Kyandai, do you still want to go now? The third Kazekage looked serious. Chiyo is his elder, and he understands Chiyo's feelings very well. He knows that the other party wants to take Scorpion back, but the other party is not an ordinary person. The instant attack just now has caused him to suffer a great loss. As a puppeteer and medical ninja, Chiyo is naturally excellent. But the third Kazekage did not think that Chiyo's ability could compete with Namikaze Minato and Ryamine Kyouhiko, and even if she added a small team, it would probably be difficult. When facing a speed-type ninja, you either have to use absolute ninjutsu to cover and target him, or be physically strong enough to not be afraid of the opponent's attacks. Chiyo has none of these. Upon hearing this, Chiyo immediately understood the other party's intention to exchange ideas and was deeply moved. She was speechless and thought for a long time. Finally, Chiyo gritted her teeth and said, "I still want to go." There was disappointment in the eyes of the third Kazekage. He took action in the hope of finding out the opponent's strength, so that Chiyo could understand the situation or retreat. Even so, Chiyo still wants to find Scorpion. The third Kazekage was silent for a moment. Finally, he sighed. "Then go ahead." The Sandame Kazekage stood up. "We'll be waiting for you at the border." Chiyo bowed deeply and thanked silently. "Yes, I will definitely bring Scorpion back and have him serve the village." "Don't force it," the third Kazekage said seriously. Then he waved. "Yi Kang, take people to assist Elder Kyouhiko and protect her safety." "Yes." So strong. In the distance on the hillside, Kai and others were watching and responding. They saw Kyouhiko and Namikaze Minato team up to knock the third Kazekage away. Kimichi Choza and Nara Shikaku were both shocked. "That's Fenning, the third Kazekage, known as the strongest Kazekage in the history of Sand Village, although there are only 3 now. But now, they were defeated by the joint efforts of Minato, Namikaze, and Kyouhiko. Although we don't know the extent of their injuries, they are definitely serious. Otherwise a group of people would not have surrounded them and not even pursued them at all. That is, Might Guy was extremely proud. "Kyouhiko is our pride. He will lead us to protect Konoha and become the Hokage." "Oh, he wants to be Hokage too?" Nara Shikaku couldn't help but laugh. "So, now there are 2 people in your team who are aiming to be the Hokage. Who do you think will win in the end?" "Two." Might Guy was stunned for a moment. Kimichi Choza chuckled and said, "Minato's goal is also to become Hokage." "Not only him, his wife Kushina also wants to become Hokage." "What?" Might Guy scratched his head. He asked blankly, "Is it so cheap to be a target for Hokage?" "Ha ha ha." Nara Shikaku laughed loudly, and then his smile gradually faded. If I were to become a Hokage before, he thought Minato had a little chance. After all, Minato was Jiraiya's disciple after all. He was extremely talented and had already become a Jonin at a young age. As long as he continued to accumulate merits and prestige, he might be able to become Hokage in the future, but the situation is different now. Tsunade has returned and the fight is now underway, with an attitude that seems determined to win. Once Tsunade takes over, it's hard to say about the 5th generation Hokage. Nara Shikaku thought for a moment and shook his head secretly. "Why do you think so much?" "The 4th generation hasn't come out yet, so it's hard to say when it will be available. It's really too far-sighted to think about it for so long." He looked carefully and saw that Jingyan, Minato, and others had returned. "Minato, you guys street first. The Palm Immortal technique is extremely difficult to use." As he was running just now, Jingyan was unable to focus his chakra on healing and had to endure the pain all the way. He wanted to treat himself first, but after a few glances, "Watergate is even worse!" His arm was cut open, and when he escaped he was carrying Jingyan with him, causing the wound on his arm to further split. There was also a lot of bleeding on the legs. "Senior, I will treat you first." "Thank you." Minato didn't refuse. Jingyan formed seals with his hands. The magic of palm! The surroundings were quiet. Shan Zhonghai caught a bird and turned around to check it carefully. Nara Shikaku and Nakamichi Choza were guarding outside while paying attention to the situation inside. What a skillful palm technique! Is there anything this kid doesn't know? 3 people who didn't know Jingyan were extremely shocked. but looking at Kakashi and Might Guy okay. It seems that this is a routine operation for Kakashi and Might Guy. I don't know what Narashikaku said. He held his chin and recalled the scene he had just seen from afar. When the treatment was over, Jingyan treated himself as well, and his chakra was almost depleted. The palm immortal technique consumes too much chakra! But the advantage is that the treatment is more thorough. For external injuries like these, they will not affect combat after treatment. Why did you fight the third Kazekage? Narashikaku then asked. Namikaze Minato said, he forced us to spar with him, but his purpose is not very clear. Senior Hei, what are their follow-up actions? Jingyan didn't answer directly. Hei regained his concentration and said, they returned to the Kingdom of Wind, but I seemed to see that some of them did not move. It was too far away to see clearly. Will they want to be like us? Jingyan asked back. You mean Narashikaku was lost in thought? If that were the case, it would be quite troublesome. Let's observe. Now at least one thing is certain. The relationship between Sand Village and Sasori is not that close, otherwise the third Kazekage would not have been dispatched. I think the reason why he wants to track down Sasori is more for Chiyo. Chiyo's position in the Sand Village is like Tsunade's in Konoha. Her poison, medical ninjutsu, and puppetry are all the best in the Sand Village. Her value to the Sand Village is definitely higher than the current Scorpion. It's just that she is old and Scorpio is young. Narashikaku thought for a moment and said, let's retreat first. We'll rest for a while, move along the border, and track down clues. We just need to make sure Scorpion doesn't harass our ninjas. It is good. Namikaze Minato nodded, indicating that he was willing to cooperate. After seeing off the third Kazekage, both sides withdrew from the Kingdom of Rivers and neither side took another step forward. Chiyo had intended to follow Konoha's actions, but Konoha wasn't taking any action at all. At least that's the surface. All of a sudden, her fist felt like hitting cotton, but she was unwilling to leave. At this moment, Scorpion of the Red Sand is not that important. Konoha's need is not necessarily to find the corpse. Nature is best found. It's really not worth it to not be able to find it and risk putting our own people in danger. Even so, their two teams still did not dare to withdraw from the border, and the same was true for the Sand Village. The two sides were at a stalemate. 10 days later, at a place near the border of the Land of Fire and the Land of Rivers, Kakashi suddenly stopped and waved from afar on the hill. Might Guy accelerated to catch up, call out, exclamation Kai and Jingyan landed at the same time. In front of Kakashi, a rock was smashed into pieces and the scene looked very messy, as if someone was fighting there, but this doesn't look like a trace that can be achieved by the puppetry of the Sand Village. Instead, it feels more like a ninja from the Iwagakure village. This is where the Fire Country and the Rain Country are adjacent, and one has to pass through the Rain Country to get here. Kyouhiko, what do you think? Scorpion is good at puppetry and poison, but not this kind of destructive power, Jingyan said. He squatted down to examine the traces. It definitely wasn't left by Scorpion, and it doesn't look like it was caused by the destructive power of a ninjutsu. It looks more like it was broken by brute force. Jingyan carefully identified it and then expressed his judgment. The scene before him looked like the traces of a battle left behind by some mad beast, and ahead there, Jingyan walked forward. After a while, the three found a broken tree in the forest ahead, with clear marks of fists on the broken edge. It was really hit with a fist. Kakashi was shocked and asked, who can be so strong? Jingyan, can you do it? It can't be done. Jingyan shook his head. Even if he used his super strength, he didn't have the destructive power on such a large scale now, and if he used the maximum amount of chakra, he wouldn't have enough. He thought of a possibility. Could it be that during this period, someone with a physique similar to Jugo's appeared in Kawanokuni? Let's wait for Minato-senpai to come over and discuss this. Jingyan stood up. The situation ahead is unclear, and it is not a good choice for the three of them to rush in rashly. It is good. End of this chapter. Chapter 76 Born to be a Fairy. Talent. Join Konoha. Chapter 76 Born to be a Fairy. Talent. Join Konoha. A moment later, Minato Namikaze arrived. He was further ahead, exploring another area, and hadn't come to this one. Minato breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that they were safe and sound. What happened? That's it. Jingyan explained the situation. Kakashi had already summoned the ninja dog, and the group talked as they walked. Suddenly, what a strong smell of blood! Andre sniffed, then suddenly raised his head and looked towards the wind vent. It was a mountainside, and the wind was blowing from the valley mouth on the side. After climbing up, I saw a small village. Now all the rooms have collapsed, blood is everywhere, and the whole village is dyed red with blood. But the strange thing is there are no bodies. Where's the body? Follow me. Andre rushed forward. In a cave, there were corpses everywhere, many of which were even torn to pieces. Before they entered, a strong smell of blood rushed out. Except for Minato Namikaze and Andre, who were experienced in battle, the rest of the people looked unhappy. Too strong exclamation inside the cave. Many bloodstains had already dried up. In the dark corners of the cave, the broken limbs and corpses were extremely horrifying, creating a hell-on-earth vomit. Might Guy, who had only participated in the murder so far, couldn't hold on any longer. He retched to the side. Fortunately, everyone had been eating Bingliang pills these days and had not eaten any specific food. He just vomited some acid water and nothing else, so he was not too embarrassed. The entire cave was filled with rotten corpses and blood and flesh. Go further inside. Don't come over here. Don't come over here. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to. I killed someone. No, I didn't kill him. A low whisper could be heard from inside. The voice was already crazy and sounded completely irrational. Minato Namikaze frowned slightly and made an alert gesture. Weird exclamation. Jingyan was already certain that the other party was most likely a natural immortal body similar to Shija, but it was hard to say whether the corpses around him were killed by the other party. Kill. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed abruptly. Immediately, a terrifying chakra flow erupted in the cave, and soon after, a strange flesh hand grew wildly and burst out with a whoosh. Namikaze Minato Rasengan gets started, but no matter how he attacked with a Rasengan, the opponent's hands were covered in blood, but they were growing and recovering madly, and his offensive power did not decrease at all. What a madman! Go! Everyone quickly left the cave. Strangely, after they left the cave, a wailing sound was heard from inside the cave. The man did not chase out. This senior, it seems that he is not a person who kills innocent people indiscriminately. It is possible that he did not kill the people in the village. Jingyan whispered. Kai looked at him in surprise and asked, why? He admitted that the other party didn't chase him out, which seemed to indicate that he still had some rationality, but if he went completely crazy, he might not be able to control himself. Right trajectory of movement. There is also a corpse. Although I just took a quick glance, the flesh and bones in the cave are missing. If he killed someone, where did all the bones and flesh go? Could it be that they were all eaten? Jingyan explained his reasons, of course. It may also be used in the art of resell attraction of the immortal body. It is impossible for him to know such information at the moment, so eating is the most reasonable inference. Might Guy was extremely shocked, but what surprised him was not Jingyan's reasoning, but can you tell the amount of flesh and bones? Don't be so surprised. These are just basic common sense of the human body. No common sense at all, Kakashi said coldly. Not only him, but also Minato Namikaze and Kakashi were shocked, as if they were looking at a Superman or a monster. Can you tell that thing at a glance? Even though Minato Namikaze had been on the battlefield for a long time, he had never heard of such an ability. After getting over the initial shock, Minato Namikaze reacted. Jingyan had learned medical ninjutsu and must have studied it, so it was not impossible for him to know, but although human body shape, skeleton, etc. are indeed relatively basic knowledge in medicine, it is still quite abnormal to be able to see the problem at a glance. The question is, how do we do that? Kakashi looked at the two Jonin. Minato gathered his thoughts and said, Kyouhiko, what do you think? Lure him out. We need more intelligence, and then we can deal with him in a targeted manner. It would be best if we can subdue him and see what's going on, then we can use the palm immortal technique. No, I know a little bit about sealing techniques. When the time comes, you can create an opportunity for me and I will seal him. After saying this, Minato Namikaze instantly went into the cave. The next moment, a roar was heard from inside. Immediately afterwards, Minato Namikaze rushed out of the cave like yellow lightning, followed by a strange-looking man with fierce eyes. His hands became gigantic and looked like two hammers. Bang! Exclamation! There was a muffled sound. The ground was cracked by a punch, which looked very powerful. Namikaze Minato retreated. Jingyan immediately took over, formed a seal with one hand, and then water spurted out of his mouth. The water flows together and becomes a beam. The water is turbulent! Exclamation! But this water wave has added compression to its property changes, spraying the rushing water at a certain high pressure. Although it is not as powerful as the water break wave of Senju Tabarama, its impact force is much stronger than that of ordinary water waves. Exclamation! The water flow cutting the skin, blood flows out, and at the same time, the water flow quickly hits the opponent's face. The monster roared, and one of his hands grew wildly and became huge, blocking the flow of water. Kakashi was surprised. Jingyan's ninjutsu was very unrestrained, with every move aimed at the fatal vital points, and it didn't look like he was trying to capture his opponent alive at all. In that case, I won't hold back! Exclamation! Kakashi rushed forward quickly. At the moment of approaching, he drew his sword and slashed. The white fang knife trembled slightly, and the hand was instantly cut off. But the next moment, the opponent roared, and Kakashi was surprised to see that the opponent's other hand turned into a claw and directly grabbed him in his hand at the same time. Might Guy quickly changed his position, rushed in front of Kakashi, and kicked the giant claw hard. Seeing that the other party remained motionless, he immediately opened the door, pulled out two kunai, and chopped at the opponent's claws with all his strength, and the kunai pierced deeply into them. The weirdo immediately let go of Kakashi in pain. Kakashi was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Without Kyouhiko's help at the same time, Jingyan instantly moved forward and was already behind him. He covered the other's head with both hands and continuously injected chakra of palm fairy technique. Seeing that the other party was drowsy, the chaotic and terrifying chakra erupted again! Exclamation! Oh! A roar! Just when he was about to go crazy, Namikaze Minato had already completed the hand seal. 4 elephants seal. The seal was placed on the other person, and the next moment, the horrible monster slowly shrank and turned into the appearance of an ordinary human, not too old, probably around 20 years old. The other person's expression was dazed, and then an expression of extreme pain appeared on his face. Don't be so quick to get mad. Jingyan maintained the palm immortal technique, but had already moved away from the opponent's head and returned to the opponent's hand. His hand was cut off when it became gigantic, but after it recovered, there was only a deep wound. The kunai was still stuck in his hand. When it was pulled out, there were 2 more bloody holes. After being treated with the palm immortal technique, he recovered quickly. What's your name? Kirikawa. My name is Kirikawa. The other party was a little confused by Jingyan, but still answered truthfully. Jingyan continued to ask, in that state just now, could you control yourself? Or, do you have any memory after you went crazy? I remember, but some of it is not clear. Kirikawa answered painfully. Kyouhiko nodded, looking over his clothes and then at Minato Namikaze. Senior, his clothes are clean, and there is no blood on his face. I don't think that's the case. Well, you ask. Namikaze Minato originally wanted to ask, but seeing that Kyouhiko was organized and not panicking at all, he was happy to let him do it. Jingyan nodded, turned around and continued to ask, then do you have the ability to absorb flesh and blood? Absorbing flesh and blood. Kirikawa recalled for a long time, then shook his head blankly, probably not. What's wrong? Then, there's no need for you to rush to take the blame on yourself. For one thing, you don't remember everything, and for another, the whole is missing a lot of flesh, blood, and bones. Unless you have the ability to absorb flesh, it's not realistic to eat that much in a few days. Jingyan was indifferent and calm. Even Minato Namikaze remained silent at this moment and did not interrupt rashly too professional. They had never learned any medical knowledge, so it was like listening to a foreign language and they couldn't say a word. But, the Kirikawa was at a loss. Didn't you kill him yourself? We are all the villagers dead. What I mean is that it's still uncertain. Don't rush to get mad. Otherwise, if someone else did it, and you take the blame on yourself, it will be detrimental to our efforts to track down the murderer. Jingyan walked into the cave. There was chaos in the cave. Rotting flesh, decaying bones, and complete corpse. Jingyan glanced at it and couldn't bear to look at it. That's horrible! This is simply hell on earth. One can imagine what kind of experiments are carried out here. He became more and more convinced. The red sand scorpion should have stayed here for a while. Kakashi, it is good. Needless to say, Kakashi has summoned Andre and asked this ninja dog to help search for clues. The strong smell of blood almost made it faint, but... Andre, smell it and see if there is any medicine or ninja-like scent here. It is good. The ninja dog quickly got to work. Namikaze Minato glanced around and said thoughtfully, do you suspect it was done by a ninja? It might be a scorpion. Jingyan was more certain. Scorpion. Minato Namikaze frowned, anger flashing in his eyes. If it was really done by Scorpion, he would definitely catch and kill him! A few seconds later, Andre sniffed in the corner and then turned back. There is a scent of special herbs here. It should be a poison, but I don't know what it is. Ah! Suddenly, a scream came from the other corner. Everyone rushed over immediately. Might Guy was seen collapsed on the ground. In the small stone cave in front of him, a girl was standing there motionless, but her body looked alive and did not appear to be decayed. Jingyan came over, observed for a while, and then sighed. She must be using drugs to keep her body the same. Then he mentioned it very light. Empty, what is this for? If it's Scorpion, it could be puppetry, using humans as puppets. These are just ordinary people. Namikaze Minato gritted his teeth. He just wanted to complete the mission before, and even the third Hokage said that it was not necessary to complete this mission, as long as he tried his best. But now Scorpion of the Red Sand, I must kill him. Scorpio really went too far by making the good guy so angry. If it is a human puppet technique, then is it possible that he attacked Hiashi-senpai for his bloodline limit? Jingyan turned the topic to bloodline limit. Namikaze Minato said, it's possible he might be researching a human puppet that retains the ability of the bloodline limit. No, if that's the case, why is Scorpion? He suddenly looked at Kirikawa. For this special physique? Namikaze Minato realized that Sasori must have heard the information from somewhere, so he came to this village. Kirikawa had a dazed look on his face as he stared at the girl blankly, tears of blood in his eyes. His aura was chaotic, and there was a tendency for him to break through the seal and go berserk again. Sister, calm down. Otherwise your sister's health might not be saved. He calmed down a little and rushed over to hug the girl's body. Jingyan was silent for a moment, then said, let's go out first and let them stay for a while. Ah. Namikaze Minato responded in a low voice. Guy and Kakashi were also in low spirits, especially Guy, whose face was pale and he was frightened by what had just happened. The girl suddenly floated out. He thought it was a ghost! When they got outside, Minato looked unhappy. He usually loved to laugh, but at this moment he couldn't smile at all. Scorpion of the red sand. Human puppet research exclamation, it's so hateful. This guy must be killed. Happen. Judging from the situation here, he should be gone in a few days. Ah. Minato's eyes were dark. Catch up and kill. After a long time, the crying man walked out of the cave silently. He looked at Minato Namikaze, then at Kyouhiko, Guy, and Kakashi. I remember it now. I remember it all. The people who killed the villagers were a group of scary guys. No, that's not right. It seems to be just one person. Kirikawa was incoherent. He said, grabbing his hair in pain. I didn't see him. I don't know. That's the puppetry technique of the Sand Village. Through the combination of some ninjutsu, the puppet can be made to look like a human, and ordinary people cannot tell the difference. Jingyan stepped forward. Also, we suspect that the other party is Scorpion of the Red Sand who killed people from your village. He may be researching the art of human puppetry. Does your sister have a special condition like you? Special? It's easy to go crazy. Namikaze Minato said. Kirikawa shook his head. No, my sister won't, but me. I don't know what's going on. I sometimes do this, but before, if I couldn't help it, I would run out of the village and go to places where the villagers didn't pass by. No wonder he wasn't caught! Everyone understood immediately. Scorpion came all the way here, but unexpectedly came back empty-handed. No one came for him, and there were Konoha ninjas wandering around, so he had to leave first. Please help me get revenge. I want revenge. Untie me. There was a pleading look in Kirikawa's eyes. This is the only power he can rely on. Namikaze Minato said, you can't control this kind of power, and Scorpion of the Red Sand is good at poison and puppetry. Your ability will be of little use to him. We are Konoha ninjas. We were originally tracking Scorpion of the Red Sand, so we found you by accident. Kyouhiko explained. Kirikawa was stunned and then couldn't help but shed tears. Will you help me get revenge? Correct. Jingyan nodded. Kirikawa knelt down with a plop and kowtowed repeatedly to express his gratitude. Get up. Minato immediately helped him up. I am from the land of rivers. Is it possible for me to become a ninja of your Konoha? I want to have power, protect the people I want to protect, and kill the ninjas of the Sand Village. There was deep hatred in Kirikawa's eyes. Upon hearing this, Minato Namikaze hesitated. Seeing this, Jingyan immediately responded, your situation is special, and you should know that yourself. Yes, I understand. Kirikawa's eyes darkened. He is prone to madness. If you stay in a village with a situation like this, it's like a bomb that can explode at any time. Jingyan smiled and said, don't worry. Although your power is very strong, there may be a way to solve it. Isn't it sealed now? This so, I can go? Kirikawa's tone was excited. Namikaze Minato nodded. Given your situation, we can consider taking you back to the village, but we can't guarantee whether you can become a ninja, and you may not be free. It's okay, this is for the best. I don't want to hurt innocent people. At least if I go to Konoha, you will be able to lock me up. Kirikawa's tone was full of regret. Obviously, over the past 20 years he was not completely harmless as claimed, and perhaps he had hurt other people. Well, Konoha welcomes you. Namikaze Minato stretched out his hand. Kirikawa was stunned for a second, then grabbed Minato's hand and stood up. At this moment, Jingyan heard a reminder. He glanced at it calmly. Under your leadership, a special elite who is born with the ability to become a fairy voluntarily joins Konoha. Reward, hearing enhancement, occurring enhancement. However, Jingyan did not feel any enhanced hearing, and it seemed that it was not much different from before and many more. Jingyan checked his memories really. In my mind, there is an additional chakra technique. Use chakra to enhance your hearing. According to memory, this ability requires very precise chakra control, otherwise one can only be born as a sage like Kirikawa, and use the power of sagehood to directly strengthen the ears. precision chakra control that should be enough! He had an idea and secretly refined his chakra, carefully controlling it to gather in his ears. Then, he gradually heard more and clearer sounds in his ears. Jingyan even seemed to hear the sounds of birds and beasts. Although I don't know the meaning, I can tell the emotion from the sound. Is this also part of listening enhancement? If I increase the amount of chakra, forget it. The brain area is a sensitive area, and any slight change could affect the entire body, so Jingyan dare not seek death. This ability should be a byproduct of becoming an immortal, but since I am not a sage, I need extremely high chakra control ability. Fine Jingyan controlled his hearing and felt that as his hearing ability increased, the door to a new world suddenly opened magical. On the other side, Kirikawa buried the villagers, and the only one with a tombstone was his sister, who looked intact. His eyes were dim. Namikaze Minato glanced at the village down the mountain and asked, "Do you want to go back to the village?" "No, let's go." Kirikawa gritted his teeth and looked away. "If I don't take revenge, all the villagers will have died in vain, and there is no point in returning to the village." "Let's go then." Namikaze Minato nodded. Although Kirikawa didn't know where Scorpion was going, he knew where there were people around him. If Scorpion wanted to do more research on human puppets, he would definitely have to find a ninja to do it, and so go where there are more ninjas! It's much easier to find someone local. In the meantime, Jingyan tried listening many times and finally mastered the use of this listening enhancement and understood its limits. Using chakra alone to enhance hearing can only expand the hearing range and hear the emotions of animals, but it is impossible to understand the meaning of those animal sounds. That kind of ability may require a curse to master. If you lean against a tree or the ground, you can hear some of the sound that is farther away. Even so, with enhanced hearing on the third day, Jingyan heard an unusual sound on a mountain beside a lake in the north of the river country, adjacent to the rain country. "There are sounds of fighting over there. Do you want to go check it out?" Jingyan pressed himself against the tree trunk, then pointed northwest toward the mountain. Namikaze Minato glanced into the distance and was shocked. "You can hear it from so far away?" "I used a little trick to enhance my hearing." Jingyan nodded. Namikaze Minato blinked and said, "Use chakra. Are you crazy? This is very dangerous. If you are not careful, it may cause deafness." "It's been a success so far, and it's been quite helpful in the search. By the way, have Senior Shikaku and the others been notified?" Jingyan smiled and changed the subject. "I've notified them. They're not far from us. They'll catch up in a few minutes at most." "Which way should we go first?" "Well, if it's Scorpion, just kill him. He's a traitor to the Sand Village anyway, so the Sand Village can't say anything if he's killed." Namikaze Water Gate. Jingyan suddenly asked, "He should thank us, right? A traitor like Scorpion is of a very high rank. Sorry, I wrote this chapter late." End of this chapter. Chapter 77 Scorpion. Is this the speed a human can achieve? Chapter 77 Scorpion. Is this the speed a human can achieve? On the mountain, explosions occurred one after another. Zionan's figure turned into pieces of origami, flying and spinning around and finally gathered in another place. Whizzing. Origami flew out like shuriken. The puppet was blown away and dared not move forward. "You go first." Zionan didn't look back. Behind her, there were a dozen or so ninjas from the hidden rain village huddled together, and there were 2 corpses on the ground. When they heard Zionan's words, they woke up as if from a dream and immediately turned around and ran away. Scorpion did not chase after her. Instead, he looked at the female ninja in front of him with excitement. "Origami. New ninjutsu, you will become my best collection." "Ah." Zionan had a blank expression on his face and was too lazy to talk to the person in front of him. She manipulated the paper, which contained many detonating talismans. The continuous explosions intertwined into a brilliant sea of fire, but the next moment a stream of water appeared around the other party. Water escape water formation wall exclamation. In addition, some earth walls emerged, a rising walls of water, and earth instantly blocked the numerous explosions. Release ninjutsu at the same time? Zionin was surprised and doubted. Your own ability or not exclamation, could it be that? Exclamation. Her pupils shrank, and she instantly understood the meaning of collection that the other party had just mentioned. You are conducting forbidden research? Taboo? Who defines taboos and conventions? It's just the ignorance of ordinary people, Scorpio said lazily. He walked out from behind the trees, controlling 2 puppets with his fingers, and then several other figures walked out of the forest. 10 fingers control, 1 person forms an army. Your art is very interesting. Let it become my eternal art. I will make you immortal. His tone was frantic. With the control of his fingers, 10 figures rushed out in an instant, and ninjutsu and ninja tools were used one after another. Surrounded by light and shadow, the paper burned in the flames, but Zionin himself was not afraid of the flames. His body quickly collapsed and turned into a piece of origami. Paper clone exclamation. The collapsed clones reunited in an instant and turned into a spear. Boom exclamation. The spear flew out and attacked one of the puppets, but was quickly blocked by a ninjutsu. However, in an instant, the spear exploded violently. The earth wall collapsed and the puppet was blown away. In the air, its outer skin fell off, revealing the mechanism inside. Really, Zionin's heart sank, and he understood why the other party had chosen this area. This guy wants materials exclamation. She was controlling origami and was about to deal with Scorpion when she suddenly sensed a team coming to her left. Followed by wow exclamation. She instantly turned into pieces of paper, flew into the air, and looked down at her surroundings from above. Then, Conan saw that behind Scorpion, a team was approaching quickly, and on her side, a team also full of Sand Village style was approaching. Sand Hidden Village. The madman in front of me seems to be a ninja from the Sand Village. Are the 2 parties together? The Hidden Rain Village had a war and feud with the Hidden Sand Village before. She didn't dare to gamble with the enemy's temperament with her own people's lives, so she decided to retreat immediately. Fortunately, her men and compatriots had already escaped for some distance. Even if she leaves here, the other party won't be able to catch up with her for a while, and with multiple blocks along the way, it shouldn't be a problem. Thinking of this, she decided to evacuate, but looking closely, the person in the distance seemed to be the child I had seen in Tangyan Village before. Ninja of Konoha hesitated for a moment and had to fly higher to put himself in a safe position. Looking around, the situation becomes clear. That's right. That's them. Conan hesitated for a moment, then created a clone and went towards Kyouhiko and the others. Fly. There was a hint of annoyance in Scorpion's eyes, but then he smiled. If you can fly, I can fly too. In an instant, 3 puppets rose from the ground and came towards Zionin. Your technique is not afraid of damage, but it should consume a lot of chakra, right? As long as your chakra is almost worn out, it should be possible. Scorpio is trying to destroy the other person's mind with words. At this moment, there was a sudden fear of murderous intent. The hairs all over his body stood up, and he moved his hands quickly, controlling the 4 puppets around him to provide close protection. Next moment, earth escape, earth flow wall exclamation, laugh exclamation. The blade slashed through, and under the distraction of lightning, the earth wall collapsed instantly. Kakashi chopped the earth wall apart. Behind him, Minato Namikaze arrived first despite starting from behind. The Rasengan was instantly imprinted on the puppet that was making the seal. At the same time, bump exclamation, the puppet exploded and poisonous fog rushed in all directions, but Minato Namikaze also turned into a shadow in an instant and disappeared without a trace. This is a shadow clone. Then, a gust of wind swept towards the Scorpion. The Scorpion is fearless. The poison brushed his face. He just took a pill and then shrunk the surrounding puppets. The rebel ninja of Sand Village, Scorpion of the Red Sand. Namikaze Minato's true form walked out from behind Kakashi and said, "I've been on guard against you." He couldn't help but glance at Jingyan. On the road before, Senior Minato, Kakashi, Guy, the opponent is a genius puppeteer from the Sand Village. We'd better not fight in close combat. Use shadow clones or ninjutsu to defeat the enemy. The current situation is exactly what Jingyan expected. Otherwise, with Minato's fighting style, he would not use shadow clones as a substitute for a surprise attack. Konoha Scorpion glanced behind him, his eyes lit up, and he said, "That guy, is he the one who slipped through the net before? I didn't expect you to bring him here. Very good. I want to thank you." Immediately, he used his 10 fingers to control and shrink all the puppets. However, while he was talking, above him, Zionin had quietly and silently wrapped the detonating talisman in the paper and detonated one of the human puppets. She is not afraid of drugs or machines. She was not afraid even after the poison exploded, but after blowing up the puppet, she looked to the other side. Below, Jingyan nodded slightly. He had heard it, so, "We must fight quickly." Whoosh! 3 figures appeared and instantly turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. Scorpion glanced around. Immediately, another puppet quickly formed a seal, but when he was about to complete the seal, one of the 3 figures running over suddenly sped up. In the blink of an eye, I was already in front of it. The knife was unsheathed and cut off with both hands. "You want to kill my puppets one by one? Naive idea." Scorpion sneered, then manipulated his fingers, and the puppet's wounds with both hands cut off immediately shot out countless thousands of bullets, which came towards the figure and Minato, Namikaze, and others behind him. Each of these needles is highly poisonous. As long as you rub a little bit, the toxin will quickly burst out and spread. But the one standing in front of him was not even a shadow clone, but just an afterimage created by an ordinary clone technique, and the 4 behind him disappeared in an instant. Suddenly, the other 2 of the 3 figures accelerated instantly. Waiting for Scorpio to react, the other party is already in front of me. The blade scratched his neck, but in an instant, Scorpion's body turned into sand, finally collapsing and dissipating. The next moment, there was a loud explosion from underground. The detonating talisman exploded, and along with it flew countless poison needles. At the same time, the surrounding puppets attacked the 2. Water and thunder intertwined, and brilliant lightning spread all around. Traps, poison, puppets. This is the most common method used by puppeteers. When facing Scorpion, such methods will only be more numerous and more unpredictable. The combination of puppets, traps, poisons, and ninjutsu is strange and terrifying. However, his opponent, wow! Paper flying. Zionin swooped down from the sky and gathered in one direction in an instant. Then, papers flew in all directions, making a series of explosions. Boom, boom, boom! Amid the continuous explosions, a figure fled in a panic. While running away, he manipulated the many puppets with his fingers, and his figure moved towards another place. Another confrontation has broken out over there, and familiar chakra. Chiyo, his grandmother. Scorpion looked around, dealing with Conan's origami and detonating tags while paying attention to Minato, Namikaze, and Kyouhiko. Those 2 are the real enemies! Conan is very difficult to deal with, but she can only use ninjutsu to restrain him. The opponent's ninjutsu consumption must be considerable, and the detonating tags are limited after all, so it is impossible to achieve unlimited explosion. But given the speed of those 2, he would have no chance of winning if they got close to him. Scorpion knew this very well, and so he has been controlling the puppets, making them as what Scorpion looked forward in horror. Over there, a puppet fell silently. Although poison was released, the opponent had disappeared without a trace when the poison appeared. "Do not!" exist here. Scorpion suddenly detonated a puppet prematurely. Under the burst of chakra, The thousands of weapons and mechanisms rushed in all directions in an instant, but he was horrified to find that the opponent could still move around and turn in advance at such a terrifying speed. How can it be? Is this a human possible response? Soon, he noticed that the one who killed the puppet was not the tall, blond man, but the short, black-haired man who was younger than him. Unreasonable exclamation. The scorpion man was dumbfounded. And if the small ones are so scary, then wouldn't the tall ones be even more terrifying at this moment? Scorpion, who has always been arrogant and self-righteous, finally realized that a puppeteer has his limits. While controlling the puppets to protect himself, he took out the scroll with one hand, trying to unlock more puppets, but just as he was about to do so, a phantom suddenly flashed before his eyes. Immediately, magnificent fireball technique exclamation. A huge fireball came towards them, and Minato Namikaze formed seals with his hands, and the fireball covered a large area. Scorpio dare not be careless. He controlled 6 puppets at the same time, releasing ninjutsu one after another to protect his surroundings. However, the next moment, boom exclamation, Zionin controlled the last detonating tag and blew up a dirt wall. Then, a column of water came from outside. The red sand scorpion's pupils shrank, and he immediately shrank back to avoid it. But soon, the opponent's water column dispersed and turned into an ordinary water stream, followed by a spread of thunder. Over the past period of time, Jingyan has been discussing lightning release ninjutsu with Kakashi. Although he has not yet mastered the specific lightning release ninjutsu, the lightning release attribute has been fully developed. At this moment, he uses the chakra dagger to guide the lightning release chakra into the already changing water waves. The water is rushing and the thunder is everywhere. The scorpion's body froze, paralyzed by the lightning and unable to move. Although Jingyan himself was also hit by a considerable amount of electric current and was temporarily unable to move, he still had a partner. The figures of Minato Namikaze intertwined. In an instant, the figure moved forward and the large Rasengan exploded. Although Scorpion unleashed 2 puppets to protect him, the power of the Rasengan was too terrifying. In the paralyzed state, he had no time to cast a spell to resist. The rotating chakra was unstoppable and shattered in the blink of an eye. Bang exclamation. The scorpion flew backwards and turned into a streak of light and rushed backwards. Konan saw an opportunity and wanted to control the origami, but she felt dizzy just after dispersing some of it. She had to reduce the scale of the ninjutsu and forcibly change the technique, turning the 3 pieces of origami into shurikens and flying them out. The scorpion has lost the ability to fight back. He tried hard to avoid vital points, but was still hit by the shuriken and finally hit the stone, unable to move. The long marks on the ground showed how terrible Minato Namikaze's Rasengan was, and the deep, blurred flesh and blood on Scorpion's chest showed that he was seriously injured and unable to move. Namikaze Minato gasped repeatedly. Just now, he and Jingyan used shadow clones and instant body movements to kill the enemy, which consumed a lot of chakra. In order to avoid the erosion of the poisonous fog, Jingyan even used the Kaimen and Zyumen of the 8 gates of ninjutsu. Finally, the scorpion's real body was hit by them exclamation. Namikaze Minato stepped forward. Scorpion, you deserve to die. As he spoke, he created another shadow clone and approached Scorpion carefully. There was a flash of despair in the scorpion's eyes. At this time, there was a chaotic sound from the other side. Flames were burning a forest. In the firelight, Chiyo rushed over here, shouting, "Stop." But Minato just glanced at her. Then, he said indifferently, "Chiyo, you can bet on who is faster, you or me." "You." Chiyo looked angry, but still stopped. She looked at Scorpion, and then seeing the puppets lying limp on the ground, Chiyo's eyes were filled with shock and horror. She couldn't believe it. "You? It's you, Grandma. I didn't expect that. Wasn't it the 3rd Kazekage who came here? How come it's you who came here now?" Scorpion leaned against a tree, blood gushing out of the wound on his chest, but his face looked lazy, as if he was not the one injured at all. Even so, there was a hint of gloom in his eyes. Chiyo was very disappointed and said, "You actually studied this forbidden puppet technique. Traditional puppetry is too weak. This is the eternal art." Scorpion smiled weakly. Chiyo looked at Minato Namikaze. "He is a ninja from Konoha. He is a traitor to our sand village. I want to take him back to be punished, Chiyo. There's no way I'll let you take him away." Minato Namikaze's face was cold and full of murderous intent. "Do you Konoha want to steal the secrets of our sand village?" Chiyo immediately threatened with confidentiality. Namikaze Minato narrowed his eyes, full of murderous intent, but said nothing, and took out a shuriken from the hand of his shadow clone. He is not good at talking, but better at kill! At this moment, Jingyan spoke. "Elder Chiyo, we respect the confidentiality of your village, but the red sand scorpion is also the target of our client. He killed an entire village of my client and paid us to help capture him for revenge. So I'm sorry, we can't hand him over to you." As he said this, he pointed to Kirikawa, who walked out from his hiding place behind him. Kirikawa looked at Chiyo with a face full of resentment and anger. "He called you grandma? You guys in the sand village are really in the same group. If he was taken away by you, how could he die?" Chiyo opened her mouth, but was finally speechless. She really didn't expect that Scorpion would kill an entire village for a human puppet, and the victim was right at the scene, leaving her no chance to refute. Chiyo closed her eyes in pain. "I will pay compensation." Jingyan was about to refuse immediately, but on the other side, Kakashi and Kai were unable to stop the enemy and were knocked out one after another, and then retreated towards the side. "He is temporarily unable to move and cannot provide assistance. What kind of compensation can bring back the lives of my family members?" Kirikawa gritted his teeth. Chiyo took a deep breath and said, "If you refuse to agree, then we in the sand village will have no choice but to assume that you are trying to steal secrets, and we will fight to the death with you." She then pulled out 2 scrolls. After the seal was lifted, 10 puppets in white appeared. 10 people in Shikamatsu! Although I am old, I still have some skills. Can you still defeat me in your current state?" As she spoke, hatred flashed in Chiyo's eyes. She wants to take action by force and kill the people of Konoha! Just about to take action. "And us." On the other side, 2 people came up instantly, one with long red hair covering his eyes, and the other with orange-yellow hair and a look of anger on his face. "The ninja who attacked ours from the red sand scorpion will surely die today." Chiyo was stunned for a moment. Unexpectedly, the ninjas from the Hidden Rain village also came to support. There was pain in her eyes, and she said, "Let's do this. I only want an intact body. As long as I can leave my grandson with an intact body, I will not take action. Otherwise, I will risk my life, defect, and protect my grandson's body." Chiyo shed tears, but her face was full of sadness and helplessness. "Whole body?" Chiyo wants to use her own life to revive Scorpion. Jingyan immediately realized Chiyo's intention, but at this time, the other party had the 10 Kimatsu people in his hands, and Kakashi and Guy in the back were no match for the Akira team, and their situation was already in danger. He sighed to himself. Chiyo for Scorpion, it's hard to say which one is more disadvantaged. Although Chiyo is not as good as Scorpion in puppetry and poison, Scorpion is a madman. With his personality, how could he tolerate the 3rd Kazekage? "Even if I return to the village, I can endure it for a while, but as long as I continue to study human puppets, it will backfire sooner or later, of course." The main reason is that they have no better choice in the current situation. Jingyan chose to remain silent. Kyouhiko and Nagato looked at each other. If the other party changed his words, they would have no excuse, and it seemed normal to leave the body intact. They looked at Minato Namikaze. "It is good." Namikaze Minato no longer hesitated. He gathered his chakra and threw the kunai in his hand, accurately piercing the throat of the red sand scorpion. The young face closed its eyes completely. Minato then let the shadow clone move closer, picked up the kunai and stabbed it into the heart again. which made Chiyo grit her teeth, but she could do nothing. Then he turned around and said, "You can take him away now, Gigun." "Thank you." Chiyo held back her tears and controlled the puppet to pick up Scorpion. Then she was surrounded by the Chikamatsu Ten and left with the rest of the people. Ikang put away the fireball and remained silent. She has no special feelings towards Scorpio and even feels a bit disgusted, but Chiyo has a very important status and role in the Sand Village, otherwise she would not have tried so hard to protect the other party. Hirakawa fell to the ground, crying bitterly. "Sister, everyone, the ninja master of Konoha has helped us get revenge." The words that came to Minato Namikaze's lips turned into a silent sigh. "The person is already dead. What is the use of admonition? It's late." I wrote it very slowly for the sake of quality. End of this chapter. Chapter 78. I hope you will walk towards the light. Chapter 78. Chiyo. I hope you will walk towards the light. Chiyo carried the body of the red sand scorpion and crossed all the way from the border of the river country and the rain country to the border of the wind country and the bird country. This is already the territory of the Kingdom of Wind. Ikang glanced around and breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that the ninjas from the Hidden Rain Village would show up, and there are quite a lot of them. They look quite strong, and we almost got into big trouble. Those 2 kids from Konoha are amazing. Thank you, Master Ikura. The Chunin under her command gasped. He was almost killed in the battle just now. If Ikang hadn't saved him, he might be a dead body now. No, you are my subordinates, and I have the duty to protect each of you. Ikang glanced at the sky, then walked towards Chiyo. This is a stone pit in a valley, which is relatively hidden and can be used as a place to stay for tonight. Chiyo looked at the corpse and hesitated for a moment. Can't say safe. She knew in her heart that it was taboo for Scorpion to create human puppets. If he were alive, he might be a disaster, but if she didn't save him, she could not suppress the grief in her heart. She had already lost her son and daughter-in-law, and now she was going to lose her only grandson, who was killed in front of her. She let him kill her. Chiyo's body trembled. Hearing the voice behind her, she suppressed her emotions and said, "Ikang, let me be alone and quiet for a while, okay?" Ikang opened his mouth to speak, but didn't know where to start. Witnessing the death of a grandson is a grief that ordinary people simply cannot bear. "Elder Chiyo, yes, Elder." She sighed inwardly, then turned around and walked away quietly. After leaving the stone pit, Ikang glanced at the 3 people sitting outside and said, "Patrol the surrounding area and set up traps to prevent the desert wolves from approaching at night." Yes. The 3 of them were ordered to leave. Ikang sighed softly and then walked away from here. Chiyo has made up her mind. She took out a blank scroll and wrote something on it with a pen. "Scorpion, I hope you will walk towards the light and protect the Sand Village for me. This is Grandma's last request." Her eyes were dim. "I don't know if what I did was right or wrong, but I'm sorry, Master Kazekage. I really can't give up my grandson." Chiyo made the decision, took a deep breath, and formed seals with her hands. Treat first. Under the medical ninjutsu, Scorpion's wounds healed slowly. After treating her injuries, she changed her seals and looked determined. Forbidden technique. Self-reincarnation. She placed her hand on the Scorpion's chest, using her own vitality to awaken the vitality within the Scorpion. Chiyo never thought that this technique, which she had studied for many years, would be used on Scorpion himself. Her chakra continued to flow out. As her own vitality grew weaker and weaker, Chiyo felt Scorpion's heartbeat resume, and then his breathing. After that, she vaguely saw Scorpion sitting up, but Chiyo no longer had the strength to do so. When she fell, Scorpion finally recovered. He looked at his own physical condition, then turned his head to look at the fallen Chiyo, and the scroll placed beside him. Scorpion was silent. He looked at the words on the scroll, his vision blurred, and he wanted to cry but couldn't. Looking up, call out, exclamation, a figure appeared in an instant. Yi Kang looked at the red sand scorpion who was sitting up under the stone pit with an ugly expression on his face. Scorpion smiled and said, "The living is so fragile, isn't it? Even I can be easily destroyed and killed. Only eternal things are the most perfect you?" Yi Kang couldn't believe it. Scorpion, this guy, isn't he sad at all when facing Chiyo who saved him? She was speechless for a moment. What happened? Scorpion stood up and looked down at the sleeping Chiyo, his eyes flashing with sadness. "You think I should be moved and cry? Don't be ridiculous." Then he picked up Chiyo and disappeared from the spot in an instant. But before leaving, he answered, "I will return to the village, but not now." Immediately afterwards, the scorpion disappeared in an instant. At night, on the south side of the border mountain between the land of rain and the land of river, Kyouhiko, Nagato, Konan, and Kyouhiko sat together, but Kai and Kirikawa were sent away to join the other rain ninjas. Kyouhiko was grilling meat by a separate campfire. "I didn't expect that it was you guys who helped Zionin on the mountain. Jingyan-kun, it's been a long time since we last met. How is the teacher?" "Teacher?" Namikaze Minato and Kakashi looked at Kyouhiko and Kyouhiko in surprise. Neither of them is stupid. Kyouhiko will ask Kyouhiko about the teacher, and it is clear that this teacher is known to both of them. "Candidates not much, I'm afraid. The teacher is fine, but he has been busy with important events in the village recently and has no time to lead the team." Jingyan laughed. Then he pointed at Minato and Kakashi. "Senior Namikaze Minato was a few years ahead of us and was also our teacher's disciple. He was Haddock Kakashi and he became our teacher's disciple at the same time as me. Hello, I'm Kyouhiko. I studied with my teachers for 3 years. They are Nagato and Konan." Kyouhiko also introduced the two. Nagato nodded slightly, remained silent, and looked a little stiff. "Hello, I'm Zionin." Konan had met Jingyan before and had fought alongside them before, so naturally they were closer. Minato was stunned. He looked at the 3 people, then at Jingyan, as if asking a silent question, but in the end he became gentle with a smile on his face. "Ahaha. I didn't expect that the teacher actually has 3 students in the Hidden Rain Village." "Hello." He said hello. Kakashi was shocked at first, but after getting over the initial shock, he fell silent and thought to himself. Then he found that it wasn't that surprising. Jiraiya himself is very eccentric and not serious at all. He would often ambush in some indescribable places to corrupt people. If it weren't for his title as one of the 3 ninjas, Jiraiya would definitely be hated by everyone in the village. Such an unserious teacher yearns for peace and the elimination of war. With such a personality and ambition, Jiraiya could have done something like this. The only thing that makes people wonder is how Jingyan knew them. He looked at Jingyan, hoping to get an answer. Namikaze Minato had the same doubts, and Jingyan whispered to explain how they met. Only then did the two understand why Jingyan sent Kai and Kirikawa away. Everyone here is Jiraiya's disciple, so some things are easier to say otherwise. It is easy to cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Afterwards, Kyouhiko smiled and told everyone about how he met Jiraiya. Everyone couldn't help but sigh that they didn't expect that this was how Jiraiya knew them, but Minato Namikaze had a more concerning issue. "Your name is Nagato, right? Okay. Does any of your family belong to the Uzumaki clan?" Namikaze Minato asked curiously. Nagato looked up at him, then was silent for a while, and said, "I don't know what the Uzumaki clan you are talking about is like. I have never heard of it. The Uzumaki clan I've seen all have red hair, and their chakra is stronger than that of ordinary people." Minato described the characteristics of the Uzumaki clan. Nagato was confused at first. After hearing this, he gradually became certain. "The person you are talking about may be my mother. Her name is Fusang." "Fusang," Minato muttered, and then did not bother to ask about the other party's mother's whereabouts. After all, since Nagato himself was not a member of the Uzumaki clan, there was no need for him to ask questions about what the Uzumaki people thought of Kushina. He sighed in his heart. Minato, what's wrong? Yahiko noticed that Namikaze Minato looked different. Namikaze Minato shook his head. Nothing. No one asked any more questions. After some communication and chatting, they gradually became familiar with each other. Yahiko, on his part, pulled Kyouhiko out alone. Kyouhiko, I have to thank you. What are you thanking me for? Going south is your own choice. But you have to be careful. The more you go south, the more likely you are to run into ninjas from the Sand Village and the Hidden Leaf Village. You have to be careful to protect yourself. Well, we have been operating in the area south of here for a while now, and the missions we have accepted are mostly related to the bird country, avoiding the main areas of your several large villages. Yahiko replied in a low voice. Then he sighed and said, the king of the bird kingdom even invited us to develop there. We are still considering it. The bird country? Jingyan thought about it and then remembered. That is a good country. There are not many ninja forces in the country, just a group of wandering ninjas, and they may not reach the bird country yet. It is indeed a good place for Yahiko and the others. He thought about it and said, it's something we can actually consider. Well, I also think it can be used as a backup. In the Kawano Kuni Yahiko sighed chaos exclamation. This is his intuitive feeling about the land of rivers. Here, there are many businessmen, but also many wandering samurai and wandering ninjas. Many of these people are no different from bandits, but the real source of all this it's still Sand Village and Konoha. Two powerful ninja villages squeezed it in the middle, depriving it of freedom. It's not easy for Hanzo. If there were more Hanzo in the land of rain, they might be able to stop the war. What a pity. Jingyan shook his head and sighed. Then, he added, Konoha has no intention of starting a war, but there is the Iwagakure village above us, the Sangakure village on our left, and the Kyumagakure village and the Mistgakure village on our right, watching covetously. We can do nothing about it. Yahiko thought about it and found that it was true. The Fire Nation occupies the most fertile land. The surrounding big countries all wanted to get a piece of the pie. Ever since the death of Hashirama Senju, the Fire Country has been under siege. The rise of Hanzo of the Rain Country has instead shared the firepower. However, Hanzo today may not be as brave as he once was. He thought for a moment, then understood what Jingyan meant and said, you want to? Brother Yahiko, I hope to reach a private alliance with you. You will help us collect information about the land of earth and the land of wind, and we will pay you a portion of the reward. Jingyan said, how is it? Yahiko pondered for a moment and nodded. If it's just information, it's fine if you don't pay for it. A long-term relationship must be healthy. If you don't eat, do your subordinates not eat either? Jingyan asked back. Yahiko scratched his head. This is true. Their current source of funds depends more on Zion and making detonating talismans, and secondly on helping others accept commissions. Even since the people they help are civilians, many times they may not earn any financial income from helping others, but instead have to spend some money out of their own pocket. Without Zionin, they would have starved to death long ago. It is indeed more beneficial to form a healthy relationship. Yahiko nodded in agreement. Correct. Kyouhiko suddenly thought of something else. You have to be careful of Danzo. Danzo? The Dark of the Ninja Realm? Yes, you should know him. Sensei is competing for the next generation of Hokage for Tsunade and is on the opposite side of Danzo. What if he knows about your relationship with Sensei? Jingyan explained in a low voice. Yahiko is not Nagato. He understands this immediately and instantly understands Kyouhiko's concerns. I'll be careful. By the way, the Uzumaki clan that Minato mentioned, Minato-senpai's wife, is a member of the Uzumaki clan. She stayed in Konoha before and was not affected when the clan was exterminated. Jingyan answered. Yahiko understood immediately. It's no wonder that he asked about Nagato. Kyouhiko, let's go. Yes. Jingyan responded and then whispered, I'm leaving. You should develop in a low profile under the private commission of Torii and Kawai, and don't attract the attention of too many forces. I see. Kyouhiko nodded. There aren't many of them now. The commissions from the bird country and the northern part of the river country, plus the rewards for the information given by Konoha, are enough for their people to live. After that, it's about development and becoming stronger. Then find a way to take control of the hidden rain village and make the rain country stronger. Kyouhiko exhaled and held out a hand. Kyouhiko, even though we met through our teacher, I can promise that I will never do anything to let my teacher and Konoha down. It is good. Jingyan stretched out his hand and shook it with his. Then he waved and followed Kakashi and Might Guy out of their station. Kyouhiko watched them leave, feeling deeply moved. 8 years old. When he was 8 years old, he was still a little kid who knew little, but the other party was already talking and laughing about the situation in the ninja world. What a difference. Jingyan glanced at the system panel. You reached a cooperation with a wandering organization headed by Kyouhiko to attract foreign aid for Konoha reward, water style, water dragon bullet technique proficient, water dragon bomb skilled. Jingyan was slightly surprised. After searching his memory, he finally understood why it was directly called skilled. One is the second-generation collection of books that I have read before, which provided considerable help. Another one is that water array wall, water wave, and the simplified seal knowledge brought by upgrading water array wall to the master level provide a considerable bonus. A combination of many factors. As soon as he mastered the water dragon bullet, he reached the proficient threshold and was directly promoted to this stage by the system, and it could be simplified to 6 hand seals. Although it is not as good as the 3 hand seals of the second Hokage, the hand seal speed is comparable to Maruboshi Kosuke. It saves a lot of trouble. Jingyan was quite satisfied. What are you talking about over there? I asked them to help us keep an eye on the movements of the Wind Kingdom and the Earth Kingdom. I hope they can provide intelligence on these 2 countries. Kyouhiko didn't hide anything from Minato Namikaze. Minato thought about it for a moment and agreed with Jingyan's decision, but how do you contact them? Hey, this is the teacher's business. I just do the work and don't care about the follow-up. End of this chapter. Chapter 79. Guidance. No, you are teaching me. Chapter 79. Guidance. No, you are teaching me. In a mountain in the land of wind, Scorpion of the Red Sand looked at Chio lying on the stone bed with a sad look. He had medicine and a knife in his hands, but he was unable to cut even. His hands were shaking and he couldn't hold the knife steadily. Timeless Art Scorpion looked at his hand, smiled silently, and said, "Grandma, you are so pitiful. You don't deserve eternal life." He was silent for a long time, finally wiped his eyes and left the cave. After a while, Scorpion controlled the puppet and brought a pile of wood, and then he began to carve. Scorpio is indeed a genius. Even an ordinary wooden puppet can be made very well, and the essence of Chio's appearance is fully grasped by him. His eyes were dim. Father, mother, grandmother, the puppets are all complete. After the production was completed, he looked into the cave. Afterwards, he skillfully used drugs to preserve the body and then placed Chio in the coffin. After arranging it to prevent insects and ants, Scorpion buried her in this unknown place. Fire Nation, on the way back. There was a strange emotion in Shikaku's eyes, and he unknowingly quickened his pace until he was next to Kyouhiko. They already understand the process, but he still had some doubts in his mind. Kyouhiko. Yes, Shikaku-senpai. Jingyan slowed down and turned his head to look at Nara Shikaku, who was catching up with him. The IQ of Lu Jiu and his son are well known to be high. The current Lu Jiu may not be as experienced as he is in the future, but his brain is still working well and he must have noticed something wrong. After all, Chio was a little crazy to get the body back. Sure enough, Shikaku said, "Kyouhiko, I listened to Minato's description of the previous scene, and there is a doubt that I have never figured out. I want to discuss it with you. Chio's matter? Well, why is she so eager to get the body back, and why does she want it to be intact? Shikaku asked. The reason why I asked Jingyan, he had a hunch that Jingyan might have already made a guess. As a bystander who faced the situation directly at the time, Jingyan had the best perspective, and his intelligence was also unquestionable. He would definitely be able to observe things that Minato could not notice. I am also confused. If I have to say one possibility, it would be resurrection technique. Shikaku took over and stated Kyouhiko's guess. Obviously, he had similar thoughts. Immediately, Shikaku sighed softly. The situation at that time was too critical, and there were ninjas from the Hidden Rain village present, so you didn't have any more choices. Otherwise, Minato described the situation at that time in great detail. Everyone had been traveling continuously without much time to rest, and then they had a fierce battle with Scorpion, which consumed a lot of chakra. Kakashi and Kai were surrounded by the enemy and were in imminent danger. Jingyan used 2 forbidden physical techniques and could no longer move. For the sake of his friends, Minato didn't want to fight Chio and the others head-on, but he couldn't help but feel sorry. If the Red Sand Scorpion returned to the Sand Village, one more Scorpion may not necessarily be a bad thing. Jingyan answered. Shikaku was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion, why? He is a genius puppeteer of the Sand Village. He is only 13 or 14 years old now, and is only about 5 years older than you. If he returns to the Sand Village, it will definitely be a serious threat to our Konoha. He is a personal puppet researcher. Moreover, a genius like Scorpion would never give up his research. The Sand Village will become stronger if he is welcomed back, but there will also be some negative effects. Jingyan explained. Human puppet. This thing, like the impure world reincarnation, is a forbidden technique that desecrates corpses, but what Scorpion is researching is human puppets that retain their bloodline limits. This technique poses an equal threat to everyone. Scorpio is not a rational person, especially after Chio died for him. Judging from later developments, Scorpion appears cold and ruthless on the surface, but in fact, he still retains the last bit of affection for Chio. Chio's death may cause Scorpion to fall into a deeper abyss, of course. For now, it's just Jingyan's guess. He changed the subject and said, secondly, I don't think such a technique is without a price. Maybe this technique is half finished, or there is a huge price like exchanging one's life for another. Chio is a master of medicine, poison, and puppetry. She is also more rational and normal than Scorpion. She is actually more important to us and the Sand Village. Jingyan explained his thoughts. Shikaku understood what Kyouhiko meant. If this kind of technique really had no cost, the Sand Village would have used it like crazy long ago. How could it have been exposed only now? The cost must be huge, and the learning difficulty may also be extremely high. Except for Chio, the top medical figure in the Sand Village, the rest of the people probably don't have the qualifications to study. For Konoha, an enemy like Chio seems to be a greater threat than Scorpion. This direction he didn't think about it. From the time he knew about this until now, he had been thinking about how important Scorpion was, and had never thought about the role of Chio. As a result, with one rise and one fall, the strength of the Sand Village did not improve much, but instead declined overall. My consideration is still not comprehensive enough! Jingyan is very young, but it is not easy for him to have such insights and comprehensive thinking. No wonder Lord Jiraiya values him so much. Nara Shikaku couldn't help but sigh, then he looked at each other and said with a smile, Kyouhiko, it's rare that you can still think and judge rationally in that situation. Nothing. I'm actually worried about Scorpion causing harm to Konoha, but now that things have come to this, I can only think positively. Jingyan answered. Shikaku nodded repeatedly. Yes. It's too late to regret. By the way, you said before that there was movement in the Sand Village and that's why you were distracted and couldn't provide support. Does that mean you don't need to look after the border now? Jingyan asked. Narashikaku shook his head. Lord Orochimaru has taken over. There is no need for us to stay here any longer. Lord Orochimaru? Jingyan was surprised. It turned out to be him. How could it be him? Good guy! Exclamation. On one side is Scorpion of the Red Sand, and on the other side is Orochimaru. Undead Hedge, right? However, Orochimaru has not yet mastered the impure world reincarnation, and his progress is a little slower than that of Scorpion. There is just one thing: the people of River Country are suffering. Jingyan couldn't help but mourn for the people of Kawanokuni. What happened? If Orochimaru-sama says so, the border should be safe. At least at the ninja level, we can be more assured. Orochimaru is still capable enough. Just Kyouhiko sighed. He is currently unable to do anything about it and can only hope that the third Hokage can take good care of his disciple. Ah, Shikaku nodded. They didn't know the inside story and still had quite a bit of respect for Orochimaru. 2 days later, in Konoha's Hokage building, Narashikaku submitted 2 reports. One is his and the other is Minato Namikaze's. Saruto by Hiruzen picked it up and looked at it, then put it aside with a serious expression. You have the same opinion as Jingyan? Yes. Shikaku nodded. Saruto by Hiruzen thought about it and put it aside. Resurrection technique? I haven't heard of it. By the way, Jingyan mentioned a conjecture. He said, could it be a byproduct of some forbidden technique research? The second Hokage often encountered this kind of situation during his research. Shikaku asked, byproduct? Saruto by Hiruzen recalled carefully and then suddenly remembered. A few years ago, the Anbu did get a piece of information that the Sand Village started to study the ultimate puppetry technique, but there was no movement afterwards. If Jingyan's guess is true, then the so-called resurrection technique might be a forbidden technique accidentally developed during the research of some ninjutsu. It requires a huge price to use, which might even mean exchanging life for life. Chiyo was replaced by Scorpion of the Red Sand. He thought for a moment and said, if Scorpion of the Red Sand is willing to mend his ways after returning to the Sand Village, then he will definitely be a greater threat than Chiyo. I will have people keep an eye on them later. Narashikaku nodded but said nothing. He is only responsible for conveying messages and analyzing. What to do specifically is the Hokage's business and has nothing to do with him. Finally home. Senior, you don't look happy, Jingyan complained on the side. Ever since returning to the village, Minato Namikaze's face has been full of sorrow. Even a fool could tell that Minato Namikaze was worried about something. Jingyan guessed. It's probably because the 2 Uzumaki clan members at home don't get along. The reason is simple. Until now, he has not received any feedback from Uzumaki Yuki. It can be seen that Uzumaki Yuki does not recognize her identity as a Konoha person, and even is hostile to Uzumaki Kushina, who is a member of the Uzumaki clan and lives and works happily in Konoha. Minato glanced at it and sighed silently. Jingyan, please stop gloating. I'm very nervous now. I'm afraid to go home. Nothing to worry about. Jingyan said what? Minato was puzzled. Then, he said jokingly, you don't even know what I'm worried about, and you told me not to worry. It's not about Uzumaki Yuki. Yes. Minato Namikaze was confused and nodded slightly numbly. Jingyan said, as long as she is still in Konoha, everything still has a chance. The most regrettable situation is that people are gone, but the hatred is passed down from generation to generation so that it cannot be resolved. You said so? Namikaze. Minato thought for a moment. It seems to be fine. With Yuki's physique, if she stayed in the Kyouhiko village, she would basically be dead if a war broke out, with no possibility of survival. If her descendants have such a physique, they will not be able to escape the bad fate. This is the sadness of the small village. Coming to Konoha, at least she could still be alive. The next moment, Minato Namikaze's eyes lit up, and he immediately grabbed Kyouhiko's hand, his face full of pleading. Jingyan, help me. You must have other ideas, right? What ideas can I have? Jingyan burst out laughing. It is difficult for a judge to judge family affairs. The reason why Minato is worried is that Yuki cannot accept Kushina, which is completely different from the beautiful imagination that Minato and Kushina had before. The more you hope, the harder you fall. This is the current situation. There wasn't much that Namikaze Minato could do, let alone him, but he thought about it and said, "You can take her around more and let her learn more about Konoha's life and what the people of Konoha think of the Uzumaki clan's attitude. Will it help? I don't know, but it's definitely useless if I don't do it," Jingyan answered. After hearing this, Minato Namikaze thought it made sense and nodded repeatedly, "Thanks, thanks." Then he left in a hurry. Jingyan smiled, went home, packed up his things at home, and then went to the river. He wants to try the water dragon bullet technique. Sai, Shu, Yin. The seals were formed very quickly, and in just 1 second, all 6 seals were completed. Then, the river water surged and the waves rippled. The water surged up and turned into a dragon rushing forward. Boom! Exclamation. With a loud noise, the water dragon crashed into the ground, creating a small pit. This power is already quite significant, but Jingyan was not very satisfied. Such power, except for the attack distance which is longer than super strength, is not that powerful in other aspects. Even the chakra consumed is not much different from super strength. In places without water flow, the chakra loss may be even greater, of course. It may also be that my grasp of the technique is not sophisticated enough and my understanding of the water dragon bomb is not very thorough. If proficiency can be further improved, perhaps the situation will be different. The current direction of cultivation, perhaps you can try to incorporate the compression technique into it. Although it is impossible to gradually evolve into the water-breaking wave like the water chaos wave, its power can definitely be greatly enhanced. The chakra consumption will be greater. Try it first. The reason for choosing the riverside is mainly to save chakra. Jingyan formed seals with his hands, trying to compress the chakra further. Now his technique of compressing chakra was already quite proficient, and the nature of the changes in water escape technique was actually almost the same. Although he is not at the level of Senjutabarama, he is definitely not weak. Chakra flows into the river like water. Next moment, boom! Exclamation. A giant beast leaped out of the river, and the 3 meters of river water around it was instantly drained away, turning into a giant blue dragon. Bang! Exclamation. There was an explosion. A dent was created in the ground, and a terrible force rushed into the ground, forming a deep pit. Become. Jingyan walked over and looked at the situation that had developed. After observing for a while, he squatted down, and the image of the water dragon turning into a rotating vortex emerged in his mind. Chaotic rotation, coupled with compressed, condensed chakra. Isn't that a hard vortex water blade? You never know. That's how it came about! Exclamation. Jingyan's eyes lit up. Can try. Try first. Jingyan tried to integrate whirlpool on the basis of compression, but unfortunately, after several attempts, the water dragon could not be gathered and the ninjutsu could not be activated at all. Wrong direction? He thought about it and created a shadow clone. About to try again. What are you studying? Jingyan turned his head. I saw a middle-aged man walking over from the side. He was dressed simply and looked like an ordinary villager, but his temperament was extraordinary. He is Maruboshi Kosuke. Jingyan stopped forming seals in his hands. You are? My name is Maruboshi Kosuke, an ordinary genin. Maruboshi Kosuke smiled and said, "Are you studying any technique?" I was practicing water dragon bullet before, and then I thought that adding some techniques might make this technique more powerful. Jingyan briefly described. Maruboshi Kosuke looked around. 2 puddles. One is large and shallow, the other is deep as a well. Just twice, the power changed so much. Is this the genius that the 3rd generation masters talked about, who has the potential to become a 2nd generation master? Maruboshi Kosuke was shocked. He licked his lips. How long have you been practicing this technique? About a month. Jingyan didn't tell the truth, but he did read some written descriptions of water dragon bullet a month ago, but he had never actually practiced it. 1 month Maruboshi Kosuke was silent. It took him many years of practice to reach Jingyan's level. Then he smiled and said, I also know how to use water dragon bombs. Why don't we discuss it? Really? Please give me some advice, senior. Jingyan's eyes lit up. Immediately, he formed seals with both hands and completed the water dragon bullet ninjutsu in 1 second. However, at this moment his condition was different. In addition to the main body, the shadow clone's hands were also pressed on the ground, continuously outpouring chakra. Maruboshi Kosuke couldn't quite understand it. But the next moment he saw Jingyan's shadow clone pressed his hand into the water, and then, at the moment when the water dragon soared into the air and the water seemed to explode in all directions, the shadow clone's hand pierced into the water dragon boom! The faucet tilted and rushed to the side, breaking a piece of the river bank. What are you, water dragon? Maruboshi Kosuke was at a loss. Then he looked strange. I remember that the water dragon bullet requires 44 seals, but you used only 6. Well, I have the notes of the 2nd generation master, and I have read some fragmentary records. I have also studied the seals of the water array wall before, and shortened it to 2 seals. So I have some experience. Jingyan answered. Maruboshi Kosuke was speechless. 2 seals. 6 seals. Of course he would, but that was based on the hands-on teaching of the 2nd Hokage. Where is Jingyan? It is really amazing that he can restore such a level with just some notes! Maruboshi Kosuke was silent for a while, then sighed and said, I am not qualified to instruct you. Before, the 3rd Hokage mentioned to him that he did have the intention to instruct and teach, but now, he felt that in a year or 2, it might be the other party's turn to teach him. Still got it. Let's discuss with each other. Maruboshi Kosuke paused and said, do you want to incorporate the change in the nature of rotation into the water dragon bullet ninjutsu? Yes, I heard that the 2nd Hokage has a technique called hard vortex water blade. Just now, when I compressed my chakra, I had an idea. If I can combine compression and rotation on the basis of the water dragon bomb, I can replicate a similar effect. Jingyan explained. Maruboshi Kosuke couldn't help swallowing. Good guy! From a water dragon bomb, I thought of a hard vortex water blade. What's wrong with my brain? Then, he thought seriously about Jingyan's idea. He had never used the hard vortex water blade, but the technique Jingyan mentioned. Maruboshi Kosuke thought about it for a moment. Then he formed a seal with his hands. The difference between this and Jingyan's normal hand seals is that he doesn't need a shadow clone. He can complete the release just by forming the hand seals. The water dragon soared into the sky, his hand pierced into the water dragon, and the water flow merged into his arm. Immediately, under his guidance, the water dragon turned into a condensed water dragon and rushed forward. Boom! The ground shattered and cracked, and the water dragon that penetrated deeply spun continuously, turning into a water tornado in the puddle. Maruboshi Kosuke was stunned for a moment. Then, he looked at Jingyan. Perhaps with further refinement and deepening, it is possible to achieve the state of a hard vortex water blade, but the hard vortex water blade of the 2nd generation master is definitely not like this. This is a hard vortex water blade that belongs to you. Maruboshi Kosuke was silent for a while. Before, he thought that it might take 1 or 2 years for the other party to teach him. Did not expect it won't take 1 or 2 years. The current Jingyan is capable enough to teach himself ninjutsu. This Maruboshi Kosuke blushed, and finally bowed deeply. I have to thank you. This technique is very useful. End of this chapter. Chapter 80. Maruboshi Kosuke, 2nd generation master. I am guilty. Chapter 80. Maruboshi Kosuke, Lord 2nd generation. I am guilty! Aren't we discussing this with each other? Jingyan immediately helped him up. Maruboshi Kosuke shook his head and then sighed. Your idea is very unique. Old guys like me have poor brains and have lost the ability to innovate. Alas. You don't have to say that. This trend confused Jingyan. He just made a guess, but he didn't expect it to come true, although the results are somewhat different. According to Maruboshi Kosuke, the water dragon bullet he improved is not a hard vortex water blade, but the effect is similar, but the power is much weaker. If you must say, it's more like an improved version of the water dragon bullet technique. Rao is so. This kind of ninjutsu is also very difficult for Jingyan. At least, at present, Jingyan is unable to integrate the two changes of compression and rotation very well and combine them perfectly with the water dragon bullet technique. After Maruboshi Kosuke finished explaining, he sighed, I'm not sure which ninjutsu the second day's hard whirlpool water blade was modified from, but it's stronger and more powerful than this jutsu, and it doesn't require hand seals. The second generation master is truly a genius. Kyouhiko sighed. Unrivaled water escape. Few people in the entire ninja world can compare with Tabarama Senju's research on water jutsu. If you want to achieve certain results in water escape, you can't avoid his research and notes. However, the hard vortex water blade was the technique of the time. If you want to create a unique water jutsu now, the best choice is not the hard vortex water blade, but the Rasengan that incorporates the changes in the properties of water jutsu. While Jingyan was thinking about the way forward, Maruboshi Kosuke was in a dilemma. He came here mainly on behalf of the third Hokage, Jiraiya, to teach Kyouhiko the water dragon bullet technique and its techniques. Unexpectedly, Kyouhiko has already mastered it on his own and reached a very high level. Not only that, the other party's understanding of water dragon bombs is different from that of ordinary people, and he has already walked ahead of him. It seems that he can't teach anything about water escape. Maruboshi Kosuke sighed and then looked at Jingyan. You teach me a technique, and I will teach you one too. I heard that you know sword techniques. Yes, I have trained with Kakashi. Jingyan nodded. You slashed at me. Maruboshi Kosuke smiled kindly. Jingyan was stunned for a moment and said, Really? Yes, feel free to draw your sword boldly. Let me see your full sword skills. I will be fine. Maruboshi Kosuke is full of confidence. Learn from Kakashi. It's not that he looks down on Kakashi, but Kakashi's swordsmanship and strength are indeed not as good as his. Although I am just a genin, I once went on missions with Sekumo and learned swordsmanship from him. Don't underestimate me. Yes, please be careful. Jingyan nodded. Then, he drew his sword and moved forward. In an instant his figure had passed a distance of more than 10 steps and appeared beside Maruboshi Kosuke. Then Maruboshi Kosuke arrived first after starting later, unsheathing his sword to block the blade butt. The next second, Jingyan formed a seal with one hand and two figures separated from his side, one on the left and one on the right, with blades like crescent moons attacking in both directions. What Maruboshi Kosuke was startled, shrank back and swung his sword to block it. Dang dang! The sounds of two swords colliding were heard one after another. Jingyan drew his sword from its sheath, azure blue appeared on the blade, and lightning spread across the other sword. Can't answer! Maruboshi Kosuke did not dare to be careless and immediately retreated, swinging the blade with his arm. Before Jingyan could react, he saw a field of willow branches dancing. Oops! He immediately closed his eyes, removed the illusion, and retreated instantly, but Maruboshi Kosuke did not chase after him. His back was also covered in sweat. Good guy! This kid is playing dirty tricks. It was said that Kakashi taught him, but he used a single-handed seal and a move similar to the crescent moon dance. Later, he even used a sword drawing technique and a dual sword style, using two types of chakra. If it weren't for Konoha, this would have been a sure failure. He coughed lightly to hide his inner embarrassment and said, Your swordsmanship is pretty good. Did Kakashi really teach you? I have also read some of the books in the second generation master's collection. Jingyan answered. Maruboshi Kosuke was silent. Reading most of the books in Jingyan's hands are basic, without complete techniques. Just relying on reading books to improve knowledge, combined with the sword techniques and experiences learned, he can master the current level. This guy is a monster! He took a deep breath and said, "Are you interested in the sword they just now?" Action-triggered illusions are indeed very interesting. In his previous life, Jingyan had seen this move in anime. At the time, I was thinking that any illusion requires some kind of triggering medium, so wouldn't it be enough if I just didn't look at it? In fact, many actions in the battle were unexpected, and this move was already an illusion the moment he saw Maruboshi Kosuke's arm waving, and the subsequent actions only deepened the impact of the illusion. Even if you can break the illusion, it is still difficult to avoid a sudden attack, unless you can unlock it and react fast enough. The core of Senju Tabarama's swordsmanship concept is to create opportunities and kill with speed, such as Flying Thunder God / Crescent Moon Dance, and Yanagi. As you guessed, the essence of this technique is an action-triggered illusion. Maruboshi Kosuke explained the core and tricks of the technique. Jingyan listened carefully. After listening to the explanation, he roughly understood how to perform action-type illusions. However, after practicing for a period of time, you should be able to master it. Jingyan began to figure it out. Maruboshi Kosuke breathed a sigh of relief. "Do not care." In the evening, at the Hokage building. "How's the kid?" "Too strong, I almost couldn't hold it in." Maruboshi Kosuke felt extremely ashamed. Hiruzen laughed out loud. In fact, he saw part of the situation using the telescope technique, but he didn't see what happened before that. It definitely scared Kosuke, of course. If Gujai used all his strength and combined his various abilities, he would definitely be able to defeat Jingyan. The 3 generations had no doubt about this. Gujai sighed, "In a few years, I may not be his opponent. Such a junior is really shameful. No wonder Jiraiya didn't teach him water escape technique and entrusted you to let me do it." Water escape? Hiruzen was stunned for a moment. What water jutsu? That kid has only learned 2 types of water jutsu before, the water array wall and the water wave, right? Well, I have been learning water dragon bullets by myself recently. My level is already very high. I also got some benefits from him. Maruboshi Kosuke recounted what he had learned. Hiruzen's pipe trembled. Water Dragon Bullet is at least a B-level ninjutsu, and the simplified version of hand seals is extremely difficult. How come it is so easy in Jingyan's hands? Was confused for a while. Then, he looked at Maruboshi Kosuke. "So I will teach him Konoha-Ryu. Once he has mastered it, I should have nothing left to teach him." Maruboshi Kosuke said, sighing. "Jiraiya must be under a lot of pressure, right?" "This may be." Hiruzen thought about it. When he taught Orochimaru, it seemed like he was in a similar state. If Orochimaru is used as a model Gujai. "Okay. I think you can go see Jingyan again tomorrow. I have a feeling that he will have learned Konoha by tomorrow, or even tonight." "Ah. Absolutely impossible. I studied this technique for a long time before I mastered it." Maruboshi Kosuke was dumbfounded. Hiruzen exhaled. "It is very likely. Then is Jiraiya free?" "Not yet." Hiruzen laughed. "It's a tough job." Maruboshi Kosuke sighed and had to say goodbye to Hiruzen. Hiruzen took out a scroll from the drawer. "Peculiar physique. Kirikawa. Oh, I hope the same mistake won't happen again. This kind of research should have been done by Orochimaru, but due to Orochimaru's actions, he really cannot hand Kirikawa over to him at the moment. I can only let Jiraiya go." The next day, at the same river bank, Jingyan continued to practice the water dragon bullet technique. Konoha-Ryu has already mastered the basics, but like Naruto, he took a shortcut. He failed to do the action trigger, and so Jingyan combined the knowledge of water array wall and water dragon bullets economical seals, Maruboshi Kosuke's explanation, Senju Tabarama's illusion notes, and many other tricks at last. Last night, he reversed the hand seal of the Konoha-style Ryu and modified it into a one-handed hand seal. In the short term, he couldn't think of how to improve, and so, it is better to practice the water dragon bullet technique first. This technique he felt that he was about to be promoted. While I was practicing hard, several figures ran by and greeted me one by one. It was Might Guy and the others, but Jingyan turned around and saw a strange yet familiar figure in the crowd. There was a person running wildly with his head down. Isn't that amazing how he got along with Gemma Shiranui and Ebisu? Jingyan understood the situation. Just as he was about to say hello, the other party had already lowered their heads and ran away. Forget it. Back in the village, everyone is working hard to exercise and practice, cherishing every second to improve themselves. This is true for Kyouhiko, and even more so for Guy and Kakashi. Practicing. Kyouhiko. Uzumaki Kushina waved from a distance. Beside him, Namikaze Minato was talking to Uzumaki Yuki with an awkward smile on his face, but the other party obviously didn't care and kept looking at Kyouhiko. Her eyes were bright, and a new glow finally appeared on her face. Minato Namikaze followed the route and looked around. Good guy! Exclamation! His eyes rolled and an idea came to his mind. Kushina-senpai, Minato-senpai, hey, don't call me senior. It makes me sound old. We are just a few years older than you. You and Minato are both jonin, and both are students of your teacher. Just call me by my name from now on, Kushina said with a smile. Without waiting for Kyouhiko's reply, Namikaze Minato said, Kyouhiko, we have a favor to ask of you. What's up? Jingyan looked over in confusion. Can you take Yuki around Konoha? Kushina and I have something urgent to do and need to go see the Hokage-sama. Namikaze Minato explained. Kyouhiko was stunned for a moment, then looked at Kushina. Kushina was confused at this moment and was about to speak when she was pulled away by Minato. She was dumbfounded, and then nodded. Oh, yes. This is not a big problem, but I may have to wait for a senior. Maruboshi Kosuke came yesterday for unknown reasons. Jingyan guessed that he might have been asked by Jiraiya to teach him water escape techniques. Unfortunately, I had already learned it and ended up teaching it to Konoha. They might come for inspection today. It's okay, I'm not in a hurry, Yuki said. Minato nodded heavily. Yes, there's no rush. You can chat as you please, and then Kushina and I will go find the Hokage first, and we'll come find you later if we have time. Kushina also understood, nodded repeatedly, and ran away. Jingyan was helpless. Now it was his turn to laugh awkwardly. How's it going in Konoha? Is everything okay? Well, Uzumaki Yuki thought for a moment and said, I don't know. I rarely go out. Then, she talked about her experience after arriving in Konoha. It was simple, just eat, drink, sleep, and then have the cold shoulder with Kushina. Jingyan listened from the side. It's amazing. The other party was unwilling to communicate with Kushina, a fellow tribesman, but was willing to communicate with a stranger like me just because of previous contact. But it's a good thing. You are currently in a state where you don't know how and with what identity to live in Konoha. You don't hate this place, but you are afraid that others may have some ulterior motives, so you think it's better to be at ease in Kazekage. At least in Kazekage you know what they want. Jingyan followed up with the analysis. The girl didn't speak for a long time. She tilted her head, looked at Jingyan, and nodded. I just thought about it. Maybe you are right. Want my opinion? Uzumaki Yuki nodded. Jingyan changed to sitting cross-legged and said seriously, you don't have to think about these things. If you want to be a ninja, go to school. If you don't want to be a ninja, just be an ordinary civilian and live in Konoha first. Be a civilian first. War is too tiring. Uzumaki Yuki said. If you don't like Kushina, then why not move out and be self-reliant? Jingyan said. Uzumaki Yuki thought about it and said, then I have to make some money first. Ah, Jingyan nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he heard a slight noise and immediately looked towards the woods on the right. Senior, is that you? Ahem, I didn't want to disturb you. Maruboshi Kosuke looked embarrassed nothing. Jingyan smiled. Uzumaki Yuki stood up and dusted herself off. Thank you for your advice. I want to go around the village and see if there's any work to do. I'll let my shadow clone accompany you. Jingyan creates a shadow clone. He didn't know about the game between Tsunade and the third Hokage, but Danzo had definitely suffered a loss. Danzo could be found anywhere in the village now, so it would be dangerous to leave her alone. After seeing him off, Kyouhiko looked towards Maruboshi Kosuke. Senior, I haven't learned your technique yet. I have only learned how to make seals with one hand. Then he demonstrated it. One hand seal, draw the knife, draw the sword and cut. As he made the swings, illusions appeared and countless knives appeared before his eyes. Maruboshi Kosuke was stunned for a moment. Konoha-style Ryanu. Then he understood. Jingyan couldn't release the technique without seals, so he came up with a method of combining seals with one hand and performing other actions, which was a clever trick. No wonder he said he didn't learn it. But the person I was at that time took several years to hone myself step by step. Even the second Hokage is praising himself! But there are still some shortcomings when it comes to nitpicking. Except for the need to form seals, it is indeed the same as Liu, but it lacks the suddenness, and its effects and functions are very different. Yes, so I think it should be integrated into other techniques. Jingyan said this and formed a seal with one hand again. Immediately, the clone technique was created. The next moment he formed seals and swung his sword. Several knife shadows suddenly appeared in front of Maruboshi Kosuke's eyes and attacked him at the same time. He unraveled the illusion. There was only one figure left in front of me, and two after images. Combined with the clone technique, Maruboshi Kosuke understood Kyouhiko's idea. With the help of illusion, Willow is combined with the crescent moon dance. It is still Konoha in essence, but its function and effect are completely different. He was silent again. The third generation was right, but not completely right. In just one day, Jingyan not only learned the Konoha style, Willow, but also innovated and came up with a new way to play young people. What a useful brain. Yesterday, he wanted to teach some details and tricks, but now it seems that they are of no use at all. With Jingyan's ability, it would be best to let him master it slowly. His own understanding is simply outdated rubbish. Maruboshi Kosuke sighed. No wonder you can become a jonin at the age of 8. Senior is wrong. Jingyan sheathed his sword. Maruboshi Kosuke was slightly startled, then he smiled and said, How am I wrong? Becoming a jonin is not entirely based on strength. Isn't someone as strong as you only a genin? I know another person who has been a genin for more than 20 years, and he is also very powerful. Jingyan said. Maruboshi Kosuke knew that Jingyan was talking about another genin who had recently gained fame. Matt Day. I have been studying the 8 gates for more than 10 years. If Might Guy hadn't used it in the Chunin exam, the village wouldn't even know about this person, but he is more concerned about what is a jonin in your eyes. A jonin must not only be strong, but also have the ability to unite his teammates and the judgment to handle missions. Jingyan said his understanding of jonin. Maruboshi Kosuke stood there in a daze. Things that took you more than 10 or 20 years and cost you a huge amount of money to understand. The other person already understood them when he was 8 years old, and understood them more thoroughly than you did. It's unbelievable that there are such precocious people in the world! He couldn't help but think of Jiraiya's comment, the Hokage's thinking. It's not an exaggeration at all. Senior, I want to ask you a question. Why are you still a genin? Let me tell you a story. I have a friend. Maruboshi Kosuke talked about the past of his friend. Jingyan didn't expose it. After listening, he said, In my opinion, your friend is very cowardly. Maruboshi Kosuke raised his eyebrows. Why? Although he has always been at the forefront, doing the most difficult and dangerous tasks, that is just the bravery of an ordinary man. If he becomes a Jonin, he can teach the next generation and pass on his experience, abilities, and insights. At worst, he can write it into a book to warn the world, Jingyan said, looking at Maruboshi Kosuke. Or is it that your friend is afraid of losing his reputation and dare not reveal his past? Or are you afraid of making the same mistake again? How can it be? Maruboshi Kosuke seemed insulted and flew into a rage. But soon, he became depressed, because he felt that what Jingyan said seemed to make some sense. Maybe being a Jonin would allow me to do more, and he was indeed afraid. I think the second generation master will teach ninjutsu to your friend in the hope that he will learn from his mistakes and pass it on to the next generation. I think this is also part of the Wool of Fire. Jingyan said his thoughts on the matter. If he really thinks that being a genin is a punishment, then he is just making an excuse for being cowardly and avoiding responsibility. Maruboshi Kosuke didn't say anything. He looked at Ryamine Kyouhiko, who was talking eloquently, his expression dazed. At this moment, he almost thought that the second generation master was standing in front of him, senior. Let me think about it. Let me think. Maruboshi Kosuke looked dazed, as if he had lost his soul, and walked step by step towards one direction. That is Monument to the Heroes. After a long while, he stood in front of the Monument to Heroes. On it was a name that read Senju Tabarama. In the distance was the Hokage rock, with the second portrait on it looking lifelike. Second generation Sama. That child, I almost thought it was you standing in front of me, lecturing me like you did before, and I felt like he was right. Inheritance and protection. It turns out that I have never really understood your will. He knelt in front of the monument and cried bitterly. I'm not punishing myself, I'm just touching myself, being timid and escaping. Lies don't hurt, truth is the knife. Maruboshi Kosuke could not bear the critical hits from these swords. Looking back on the past, he felt that he had never understood Senju Tabarama's intention and had been avoiding him. He even moved himself and thought that he had paid for his sins. In reality, Maruboshi Kosuke whimpered, his heart filled with regret. After crying for a while, he heard a sound behind him. You don't have to feel guilty. Without your past experiences, you wouldn't be who you are today. Just like without war, I wouldn't be who I am today. End of this chapter. Alright, legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.